Can you see that? My bed isn't made? Kind of. Let's ignore that. Hi. It has been a hot minute since I've done like a reading challenge. This Throne of Glass plot recap thing has just been like consuming my life, but I am happy to say that I am feeling like it is time for a reading challenge. I wanted to do something fun, something zesty, and when I was looking at all of the current reading challenges out there, nothing was really hitting hard with me. So it occurred to me, why don't I just come up with my own? If there is another creator out there who has done this challenge before, I'm not trying to take credit for it, I just legitimately have not seen this done before as a reading challenge, but to my knowledge, I believe I'm the first booktuber to do this. If that's not the case, I apologize. The challenge that I thought of is one that we can actually do together, and it's also gonna take multiple videos. I'm guessing like 7 or 8. That'd be really cool if it's like 7 or 8. Anywho, the reading challenge that I'm gonna be doing that you can do along with me is the Reading the Alphabet Challenge. So here are the rules. You have to read 26 books in order from A to Z with a title that starts with that letter. So for example, today we're gonna be reading books A, B, and C, which means I'm gonna be reading 3 books. One is gonna have a title that starts with the letter A, one title is gonna start with the letter B, and the other title is gonna start with the letter C. I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory. Just do that 23 more times until you get to Z. Let's start with book A, because I already have the physical copy of book A with me, but for A, I'm gonna be doing All of Us Villains. What's funny is that one day my husband took me to Barnes & Noble's. He does not enjoy reading at all, but he did take me to Barnes & Noble's and he says, hey, if you get me a book, I'll read it. I guess he just felt like he was open to trying reading. I spent a very long time looking through all of the books. I knew this was my opportunity. This was my chance. And although he's not like a reader, he did say that he really enjoyed this book and he read it pretty fast. So I have high hopes for this. I remember him talking about the book a lot when he read it, and he basically said it was like kind of like a Hunger Games style, but they had magic, which I also realized sounds like I'm defining powerless. Let's just read the back actually, because I don't really know what this is about. Oh, so it's a secret tournament to the death, and there are 7 different families that their children have to fight in it to like represent their family. And whatever family wins gets magic. Interesting. This is the most exciting part. I just finished work, right? And tomorrow I have the day off because it's 4th of July. Happy Independence Day. Friday, I have a half day. And then I have the whole weekend to read. I'm very pumped because that's a lot of reading time. I'm gonna just actually set a timer for like 3 hours and just read. I don't know why I get jittery whenever I go to start a new book that I know nothing about. It's like excitement jitters, almost kind of like that first date jitters, you know, where like you're excited but you're also nervous because what if it's gonna let you down, or what if you got ghosted by a really good pitch? That's how I feel. So we're just gonna turn on the music, we're gonna start the timer, and we are gonna start this book. So I got a really good bit of reading in last night. I actually didn't hit 3 hours because it occurred to me that I actually woke up that morning at 4 a.m. So when I got tired really fast. So I ended up calling it a night early. But then this morning, it was so nice for both me and my husband to not have work, and we had a nice slow morning together.
You're telling me you don't want to.
Oh, spinny chair, baby.
Washington, D.C. That's fun. That's when I found.
How do you feel about second place? No. Now I am officially at the part that's like right before the tournament that this book is about, and I'm on page 144. As I said before, it is 4th of July, so I am enjoying the holiday, and I'm especially enjoying the fact that Barnes & Noble's is open. We're actually going to be making a Barnes & Noble's trip in a little bit, but first let's talk about book A, All of Us Villains. So off the bat, something I really enjoy is that it does set itself apart from books like Hunger Games and Powerless, where there's a competition, because usually you're following the story from one or two characters' point of view. So you know that one or both somehow, like, they're gonna end out okay. You know, you don't know how necessarily, but you know that they are. And that's kind of the allure to those books, is you know who you're cheering for. What is crazy good and creative about this book is that you get the POV of, I think there are 7 competitors, and you get 5 of their POV. So like the other 2, it's like, okay, so clearly they're gonna die most likely at the beginning. I feel like that's always how that goes. But 5 characters have their stories being shared. There's so many POVs that it's really hard to know who's actually going to make it on top and who's actually going to die. Why it's not a 5-star for me, because I only have positive things to say, really, is that the magic system just feels a little, I don't want to say lazy, maybe like underdeveloped. Like, they still explain what the magic is and how it works and all that, but they don't really go into it. I'm used to reading magic systems where there's multiple books and they have more time to really like flesh it out. So maybe that's like a big part of this, is they're trying to explain how magic works in 2 books. But in my opinion, the main issue in the book is that there's a curse. The #1 goal of the main characters in the book is to break this curse. I really want to have a good understanding of the magic system, because then I can almost kind of like mentally be like, oh yeah, how can we break the curse? Almost like when you're reading a mystery novel, like you want to be able to help the investigators find who did the murdering, but I feel like I can't do that with this book. And that's like the one thing keeping me from like truly loving and enjoying this book, is that I feel like I can't be a part of it. Does that make sense? I hope it does. What makes this so unique? In the past, it's always been like a secret. Like, no one's really known about the tournament, but one of the families, and it's like the family that always gets the rough end of the stick. Like, for example, the tournament happens once every 20 years and it's been happening for hundreds of years, but this family has never won. So in an attempt for, I don't even know what yet, I guess that's a big part of the mystery, one of the people from this family, identity unknown, published a book about the tournament, why it happens, like the history behind it, and then it basically just like exposed the whole thing. Now it has gone from like the super private thing to like a very public event. It's kind of like the Hunger Games in the way where some people are like so against it, but then other people think like this is the most entertaining thing. And they've almost kind of like justified the fact that a bunch of children are dying every 20 years because they're like, oh, well, it's just the way things are. It's just the way things need to go. Like, it's a necessary evil kind of idea, so we might as well make the most of it. Obviously, the government wasn't going to just sit by and let this happen without getting involved. So there's like some government officials like trying to wiggle their way into the tournament and force themselves to get involved so that they can have like a say in some stuff. Anyway, so that's enough about that book because I don't want to talk about it too much. So the next book I wanted to read, which is my book that starts with a B, I was supposed to get an e-copy from the library, but I just checked from the e-library and they're projecting that I won't get it for another 4 weeks because of the person who has it right now, I guess, is keeping it for a very long time. So it's definitely not going to be here by tomorrow. So I've decided that I'm going to Barnes & Noble's and I'm gonna get it anyways. I've been trying to be so good about not buying a bunch of books, but this book that I want to get is the first in a trilogy. LOL, I'm not gonna do that. That looks a little silly. It's the first in a trilogy and I have been dying to read this trilogy for a while. There's actually a bookstagrammer, I can put her right here. She posts about this book all the time. Every time she posts about something, I either read it and love it, or I have read it before and I did love it. So I feel like her and I have very similar book tastes. So I trust her judgment. I really know nothing about this book. I don't know the premise. I have no idea like what the blurb on the back is. I just know that this is a book that I think I'm really gonna love. So that book is Belladonna. We are gonna go to Barnes & Noble's and get that book today, and I'm very excited about it. I'm gonna focus on this braid for a second so I can finish it real quick, and then we can go to Barnes & Noble. I'm not sure if I hate it or love it. It's like a braid into a bubble. There was this girl that I knew in like middle school, and then we ended up going to the same college too, and she always does her hair in like these bubble things, and she looks so cute while doing it, but I feel like on me it just does not look right. I could also just like totally be not doing the hairstyle right Your girl never said she was a hairstylist, that's for sure. I feel like I already hate it, but I think I'm gonna at least go to Barnes and Nobles with my hair like this and like force myself to wear it for a little bit and see if it doesn't grow on me. I doubt it, but we'll see. Do we hate it? Do we love it? I feel like if my hair was longer, this would be cute. Also, this might not be the top, but it's the most festive thing I have. The only other thing I have that's like 4th of July colors is a Polish t-shirt. Something about wearing a different country's flag on 4th of July just doesn't feel right. So we're not gonna do that today. Okay, I feel like I look a little less dumb and a little more festive. This is my homemade ruby shirt that I stitched with my mom. Don't look at that, Soka did that. She was a bad girl and jumped up on mama. And then I got blue in the denim. And then I swear I'm wearing red socks under here. And then the stitching's in red, so it works great. And I feel like the bubble braids look less silly with a sweatshirt and short combo. If I change my mind, these will most likely end up in pigtails. But yeah, also I'm wearing blue eyeliner. I know you can't see that, but I swear it's there. I got the book. I'm very excited. I don't necessarily love like faces on covers. I have a free donut coupon for a coffee shop that I have not been able to go to because every day that I'm available to go and I'm not working, they're closed. So they quite literally are only open during my working hours, and I take way too many work meetings to like work off-site. My plan is, since they're open today, I'm gonna take my books and I'm gonna crank out some of All of Us Villains. I'm really tempted, I'm not gonna lie. I really wanna start Belladonna right now, but I know if I start book B before I finish book A, I'm gonna finish book B before I finish book A. So we're gonna try to finish All of Us Villains today at the coffee shop with our free donut. I was right, the place was absolutely jam-packed, but the iced Americano was phenomenal and it was probably one of the largest donuts I've ever eaten. I ended up staying for about 3 hours and I got to page like 320, and I'm so close to being done with this book, but the place closed and now I have to head home. I'm honestly fine with that. The chair wasn't super comfortable, so I'm ready to read at home in bed or in a chair. I'm almost done with this book, and I think I have some way more formed thoughts, obviously, still spoiler free. I finally put a finger on why this book isn't amazing, considering the fact that there's nothing necessarily wrong with it. It is truly the magic system. Like I mentioned a little bit earlier, I thought it was that, but now I know why. Every single book that I've read that's fantasy, that's been my favorite, I was able to get sucked into it and I wanted the magic that the characters had. The magic system in this book, it sounds more trouble than it's worth. Here's the thing. There are 2 different types of people. You're either one of these 7 families and you have magic, or you're everyone else. I would prefer to be everyone else in the situation. Not just because if you're part of the 7 families, you're likely to be selected for this tournament thing. It's not even about that. I would rather not have magic than have magic. It just sounds like such a liability. Like, it's so unpredictable. It's so hard to use. I don't know. It just sounds like way more trouble than it's worth. I'm definitely not like running to read book 2. I'm flying through the book because it is very fast paced and it is written well. There are so many points of view in this book, but honestly, it makes sense. And all the characters are so different and so well developed that it doesn't even feel like I'm having to use a lot of brain power to read them. Honestly, I think one of the reasons I'm reading All of Us Villains so fast is because how excited I am for Belladonna. Do I love it? No. Am I enjoying it? Absolutely. I'm gonna go home and finish this book and then make some dinner. And then I am so pumped. This is our first 4th of July living in East Tennessee, and apparently our cute little downtown area does like this big 4th of July show. There's gonna be like a concert and fireworks and a whole bunch of fun stuff. I'm excited to just like spend the evening with my husband. We decided not to bring the dog, so we don't even have to worry about Soka. We can just like enjoy our time together, and it'll be just like a fun little date. Okay, so I did just finish All of Us Villains, and I have a lot of thoughts. Honestly, It wasn't until the last 80 pages where it occurred to me that I just don't care about any of the characters. I didn't care what happened to them, and honestly, once like all the bad stuff started happening and like the very anti-happy ending started happening, I was just kind of like, okay. So I'm gonna say easily 3 stars. It wasn't a bad book, it wasn't a good book, it was a fun read in less than 24 hours book. I don't know if I'm gonna pick up book 2. I think I might, just because I'm a perfectionist and I don't see myself being able not to read book 2. But what I am very excited to say is now I can officially start Belladonna. Although it is about time to head out for the night, and by the time we get back, I'll probably be ready to crash. So I will be starting this tomorrow morning. I know nothing about this book. All I know is death waits for no one except her. And in my opinion, I love to make predictions about books that I know nothing about and then see how wrong I am later. I think this is going to be a Sleeping Beauty retelling. Something about the covers of these books gives fairy tale retelling. I'm gonna get some reading done in the morning, then I have a 4-hour half-day work day, and then as soon as I clock out, I'm gonna pick this bad boy up. It's the next day. We left the house at like 4 p.m, quite literally minutes after I finished talking to you guys. And not only did I forget my camera, but then I realized I forgot my phone as well. I just at that point took it as a sign to not vlog the experience. So decided to sleep in this morning and then read the first 2 chapters of Belladonna. And we'll talk about that in a second because that was a whirlwind. And then I worked my half day of work, but right when I clocked out, there was a little bit of an incident, including a marker in a washing machine, and my favorite pair of jeans were ruined. So then I went to the mall, and it's now like 3 or something later, and I haven't been able to pick up Belladonna. I will actually most likely be wearing these jeans to church on Sunday, so I'll do a whole try on for you guys and you'll get to see them. They're really, really cute. But let's talk about the criminal in the room. I read prologue in chapter 1, and when I tell you, this book is so unbelievably... The concept I'm already obsessed with. And nothing that happens in like the first 25 pages or in the first 3 to 5 chapters is a spoiler, so we're gonna talk about it. Literally, prologue, girl is 2 months old and everyone dies but her because everyone's poisoned, including her, and everyone dies but her, and death comes and gathers all the souls. Then we find out she's almost 20 years old. This character has actually died multiple times, like throughout her life, even before chapter 1, and every single time she sees death, and death is like a man, and he's never talked to her, but she's always been very curious about him and why he won't or can't take her. We're not really sure why. And also, everyone around her in her life does seem to die as well, which is also very interesting. And literally chapter 1 concludes with like she intentionally tries to herself, because she knows it's not going to work, in an attempt to like see him and like face him and talk to him. We don't know her full intentions yet. I'm sure that will be uncovered in chapter 2, but she's literally like summoned him on purpose, and he talks to her for the first time. And let me tell you, Death, he's got some saucy one-liners. He's really flirty. And if this book is a girl falling in love with death, I literally, if this is a love story between a girl who cannot die and death, I, like, just thinking about that, my brain is like going through all the different possibilities of like what kind of story this could be, and I'm obsessed with every single one of them. But besides that, I have 7 hours till my bedtime. If I do not read at least half of this, or majority of this, something went wrong. In a lovely turn of events, we lost power, but I have this. So I'm reading with a light up Harry Potter wand, and it's quite effective. Jump scare. I just really needed to work with some third day hair for a video I'm about to film, but we'll get to that in a second. Reading in a power outage is fun. The vibes are immaculate. It's unmatched, truly. only issue, I don't want to call it a reading slump because I think that's a little too extreme. I feel like it's a mix of burnout and a reading slump in like the most minor sense of the terms. But basically all I want to do right now is bake cinnamon rolls and watch like Bambi. Soka, you're being such a good girl. Do you want to say hello? Hey Soka. Hey baby girl. You don't like this anymore? It's definitely getting hard to pick her up. Feels like a month ago I was able to just put her on camera for you guys, but you're gonna break my back. On to Belladonna. I did not get far because of said emotions. I got to page 102. It's a decent bit. We're 20% of the way through. I did feel like I needed to take yesterday evening and this morning to like recalibrate my expectations for this book, because in all reality, this book is really good. It's amazing. I will say though, as much as I'm feeling motivated to pick up this book and read right now, I do need to film the rest of this video, and I have like 3 hours left of filming to do. And you know how I said I kind of feel like baking cinnamon rolls and watching Bambi? I do kind of want to do that. But I think I'll read this while I do it, because if I remember correctly, no one except for maybe Thumper talks in Bambi. Am I correct in that? Now to talk about the book, what you're actually here for. I do really enjoy it. The only thing is, and maybe this will come with time, I don't know the main character at all. I want to say it's just because I just started the book, but in all reality, I'm this far in, so I should at least have something about her character. I know like facts about her. The authors talked a lot about what she looks like, so I have a very strong visual of what she looks like. Obviously, I know her history. I know what she wants in like the current situation that she's in, but I don't really know much about her. Is she more of a driven person? Is she super stubborn? Is she a people pleaser? Like, I don't know that stuff. A good author doesn't have to tell you those things. You should be able to dissect it based off what you're reading. But I don't even feel like I have enough to really know what Signa is like. Signa is the main character. I will say though, Death is a vibe. I love Death. He is such a fun character. I have a couple theories revolving Death. I'm surprised how dark this book is. I thought this would be like a cute, fun spring romance because of the cover, but realistically, this is like prime October reading. If you're considering reading this book, don't let the cover fool you. This is totally like a spooky fall vibes book. I think I really do like this book. I think I just went into it expecting it to be way more than it is. Although I will say some of the theories that I had are still have not yet been proven wrong. So I'm holding to some of my theories to see which ones are true. But because this is like spoiler free, I don't want to tell you what those theories are, because then if they get confirmed or not is going to give away the ending for you. But you'll just have to take my word for it if my theories are correct. Also, this vlog is taking way longer to film than I thought, so it's low-key pushing back my filming schedule a whole week. But that's fine. Honestly, totally worth it, especially because of Booksy. And I know I keep hyping up Booksy, so I hope you guys are also as excited about Booksy as I am. Honestly, if I read Booksy in a day, I will not be surprised. Alright, I'm gonna film and then start making cinnamon rolls, and we're gonna read a book while watching Bambi, I suppose.
Thumper? If you can't say something nice, don't say nothing at all.
Hey guys, it is the next day. Yesterday was a dream. It was literally perfect. Honestly, completely changed my mood. So I'm pumped to keep going today. But I made the cinnamon rolls, which by the way were phenomenal. And then I watched Bambi, which by the way is so depressing. Like, I honestly forgot like the plot. Like, I knew the big moments of what happened in the film, but I kind of forgot everything, like that Bambi was a prince and like all that kind of stuff. Thumper is still my favorite character. That has not changed, but I literally felt like I was reliving my childhood. Like, there were literally scenes of like the raindrops falling off of leaves And I remembered that so vividly. Like, it unlocked memories from like when I was 4 years old. It was very therapeutic, I must say. And then, get this, I ended up being totally glued and locked in the whole movie, so I didn't read it all like during the movie, but as soon as the movie was done, let me just say, I read the next chapter. Can you believe? I feel like this always happens to me. I'll put a book down because it's either not picking up or I'm upset by something that happened, and literally, like, if I had just read one more chapter, I would have been locked and loaded. The next chapter was literally so good, it changed the entire genre of the book. So I'm glad I didn't read the back, because it ends up that like that plot twist was on the back, so I like that I didn't expect it. Do I think I probably would have been more determined to keep reading 2 days ago if I had known that was gonna happen? Yes. Am I also kind of glad I didn't? Sure. By the way, I did make it to page 180, so I'm almost halfway through. So I feel like I can say now that Signa definitely has more of a character. I wish it didn't take that long for us to really get something from her, but unfortunately it did. I'm not mad about it though. I do like her as a character. Do I feel like I could still get a lot more? Yes, but she's starting to make more sense to me. Also, I knew there was going to be romance in this book. Like, everything about it was like giving romance, but I will say it's definitely developing in a way I did not expect. I feel like at this point there's like 3 potential suitors for Signa. Like, it's not even like a love triangle, it's like a love square. Honestly, it could go any of the 3 ways. And I'm not mad about it. I definitely know which one I want, but I also wouldn't be mad if it was any of the other 2 either. But I am officially ready for church, which we're leaving in a little under an hour. So I'm gonna try to fit in a couple more chapters before we go. But as promised, I told you I'd show you guys my jeans. Ignore the dirty laundry, but these are them. And I love them for a bajillion reasons. One is that the rips start down here. And I mean, all the power to you if you love high rips, but I really just needed some jeans that didn't rip so high. And these just feel really good quality, and I like how they're actually long on my legs and touch the floor. I feel like most of my jeans have always been like almost cropped, and I've never really loved that look. I am going to pick up Belladonna, and we're just gonna chill on the couch and read until church time. I definitely think we're gonna finish this today. No, we are gonna finish this today. So I did finish Belladonna, and then I did give Soka her bath, which could have gone less chaotically, but hey, she's clean. It gave me some time to reflect on Belladonna. I really want to give this book 5 stars. I'm just gonna start off there. This book was so good. Realistically though, it might be a 4.5 star book because it definitely had its issues, it definitely had its quirks. As predictable as I thought it was gonna be, I kept being surprised. Like, the last 100 pages was so full of like artistry. The one reason why I'm hesitating to give it like an actual 5 star. It did not necessarily need 400 plus pages. I honestly think that this book could have been written very well in 350 pages, maybe even less. So it is going to be a 4.5 in my brain, but Goodreads is rude and they only let you do 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 stars. So I think I'm actually going to put this in Goodreads as a 5 star because realistically, if I think about the books I've given 4 stars to in the past, I feel like that doesn't do this one justice. And realistically, the next book in the series is Foxglove, and that starts with an F. And the next video I'm doing is D, E, and F, and I'm like 90% convinced that F needs to be Foxglove, unless one of you specifically recommends a book that starts with an F that is more interesting to me or catches my eye more. So that being said, before I present book C, I will encourage you, if you know a really good book that you think I'm going to give 5 stars and it starts with a D, an E, or an F, please put it in the comments down below. I will be thoroughly researching every single book recommended to me in the comments because I do not take this alphabet challenge lightly. This is becoming my personality and we haven't even finished episode 1. As for book C and why this one is very special is that the OGs will know that this is a very special book to me because it actually got its own video. Not many books get its own video. It usually shares with a couple other books. But this one particularly was special because it was also the first book I ever annotated, and that is Caraval by Stephanie Garber. Words cannot describe the way I absolutely fell in love with this book. Like, if I could give it a 6-star rating, I would. First of all, look at all these tabs. I know that's not a lot realistically, but the only reason was because I was running out of tabs and I was on vacation for part of reading the book, so I couldn't buy more. I also have some up here. I also have a ton of notes and highlights in this book. There's realistically not that many words per page. I'm gonna fly through this, especially because I already know the plot, so I'm not gonna be like dissecting every single little thing. It's also just gonna be really fun to read all my notes. So I'm very excited. This is something I've been dying to do for over a year, so I'm very pumped to reread this. And I'm just not going to waste any more time. I'm going to get started on this book. So it's the next day and none of that actually happened. So that's great. I read the prologue. Haven't even started chapter 1. Guys, it's so embarrassing. I read the prologue and then my husband was like, oh, do you want to watch a TV show together? And I was just like, you want to watch a TV show with me? And I couldn't say no. So then we watched a TV show together. And then it was bedtime. And then I went to bed. And I woke up to go running this morning. And I was like, I feel ill. So I went back to sleep. And I slept for another 2.5 hours. And I woke up just in time to make my coffee and start work at 8. So it's now 6:30. And now I'm starting. So can we say like the 24 hours starts now? Maybe? What do you think? But here's the other thing. I don't know if I'm just like having a beginning life crisis right now or what, but I started 75 hard today. This is my 3rd attempt. First time I got so sick and then I did my outdoor walk in the freezing cold rain and then got significantly more sick and then had to stay in bed all day the next day. And then the second time I did it, apparently a gallon of water a day was way too much for my body and I got oh, what's it called? I got this, whatever this is. That happened to me and it was honestly one of the worst experiences I've had in a very, very long time. So this time I'm doing things differently. I'm only gonna do a half gallon of water, and if I can drink more, I will. So that being said, I do actually need to go for that run. I'm feeling better, as you could probably tell, but it's also really hot outside. So I'm gonna wait until the sun is starting to set, and then I'm going to go do my outdoor workout. I have like an hour to read this, and then I'm gonna run, shower, clean the house, meal prep for the week, and then who knows, maybe I'll get back to reading, but then I need to be in bed by 10 to make sure that I have time to wake up in the morning and go running before work. So I've also decided I'm going to be running a half marathon by the end of 75 hard. I don't know what I'm overcompensating for right now, but there's definitely something there. But I'm not going to waste any of your time, and I'm not going to waste any more of my time. We're going to read this book for the next hour to hour and a half. Hello. Would you believe it's the next day? A challenge that was supposed to take 4 days is taking a lot more than that. I recognize that, and I apologize for that. Today's look is inspired by working remote and not having any on-camera meetings. So that's why we're getting what we're getting today. I am on page 90, and let me tell you, not only is the font pretty big in this book, but also I've read it before and I know the plot, so I'm not as focused on like getting all the details. I'm really just focused on like enjoying it, so I am flying through it. I will say, I'm hilarious. Like when I tell you, I have laughed out loud multiple times based off the notes that I put in this book. This was a mood annotate. Anything that I liked was underlined in black pen, and anything that I loved was highlighted in gray. And that was really just like a, ooh, I really liked how she worded that. A situation, a play on words, a plot twist, like I would do it in black and gray. But if it was super emotional, I had a red pen and a red highlighter. And honestly, it was the perfect color scheme for this book. The tabs are, honestly, That's a great question. The tabs, pretty much if there was a highlight, the chances are there's a tab. So that's like if I want to flip through the book quickly, instead of having to like flip until I find a highlight, I can just pull at a tab and see the highlight. Towards the beginning, I put a couple of these black sticky notes in here in a cool metallic pen because I'm cool like that. I wrote any predictions that I had about the book. What's really funny is that I originally did that intending to go back when I finished the book the first time, but it didn't cross my mind. I didn't do that. So now I'm doing that while I'm rereading it, and I'm cracking up at myself because there are some things where like I hit the nail on the head. I totally predicted it. Yet somehow I was still totally thrown by it when it happened. But then there's other times where I wrote down a prediction and I'm just like, ooh girl, not only like was I so wrong, but like the opposite happened. So I am just loving this. Now, we're gonna keep reading. I don't know if I'm gonna finish this tonight. I know, I'm so sorry, I really am. But realistically, in order to get that half day, remember that half day I took at the beginning of this challenge? I had to work extra hours this week. So then I already had less hours to film this. And then I'm also doing 75 hard. And I'm doing 75 hard to train for a half marathon. And then just to put the icing on the cake, my workplace is doing a steps competition. And at first I didn't really care. Not that I didn't care. I was really excited about the possibility. But literally on day one, I was already so discouraged because there were some people getting like crazy steps in a day. And I was like, there's absolutely no way. Like I have way too much going on. But then it literally hit me like yesterday, today. I was like, you know what? The only person who's saying I can't do this is me. I could do it if I wanted to. So almost in a way to like prove to myself that I can do anything I set my mind to, I'm competing. Now, mind you, the person who's gonna get first place is like in full sicko mode every single day. I'm not even gonna get close to that person, so I'm aiming for second place. So I had the fun idea that I'm going to walk a trail and get some steps in while I read this book. So that way I'm taking an active rest day. It's gonna be considered an outdoor workout for 75 hard. It's going to contribute steps towards my work, and I'm reading for this vlog. Also, I just genuinely enjoy this book. We're going to hit the trail. I do have like a goal of steps that I want to hit, so we're pretty much just gonna walk until I hit that step goal. Walk, read the book, probably watch a Star Wars movie, probably Han Solo, because we're trying to watch them all chronologically right now. And then maybe I'll read a little bit before bed. But if I do not finish this book today, which I most likely won't, we are finishing it tomorrow. I will not rest. I will not go to sleep until this book is done.
I've been out of my head, can't get out of bed. Too much on my brain, but got it good, can't complain. It's like I'm losing my mind, and time's hard to find. What's a girl gotta do to catch a break up? When life tries to test me, I take it one day at a time.
So I hit page 230, which means I guess I read 140 pages. And then real quick, because I pretty much dragged you into this agenda against your will, I have made 26,792 steps today. I'm very proud of this. Anyways, that's not what you're here for. You're here for Caravel. Obviously, I showed you a couple of the things I wrote in here, and they're like the more silly, superficial things. Anything else I wanted to show you guys that I had underlined would have been considered a spoiler, which really sucks. So maybe one day I'll make a spoiler version of Caravel, because I could talk about this book for hours. Oh, I forgot to tell you this. Anytime I underlined something in gold, it was like a golden nugget. Do you always focus on what you're giving up rather than what you'll be gaining? Some things are worth pursuit regardless of the cost. Like little things like that. There was one that I read that quite literally took my breath away, and I like stopped walking for half a second, and I was just like, oh, Stephanie Garber really said that. I told my husband I'd be home by 7:15, and it is 7:13, and I live 2 minutes away, so I should definitely hit the road and not worry so much about finding this one quote. Oh, here's another one. It's not the one. So Scarlett, the main character, says, I think I've made a mistake. And then one of the characters responds and says, then make it into something better. I don't know why, but something about reading that halfway through the walk gave me the biggest motivational burst. I wanted to cry. Like, it was just so beautifully written. Here you are on a magical island and all you can think about is what you don't have. That one's not as punchy, but like, I felt that in the moment. I'm sorry guys, maybe I didn't underline it in gold and I've been looking for gold this whole time. Oops. Do we think I can finish that tomorrow? We'll have to wait and see.
Don't hold your breath, kid.
Alright, so I am back at the trail and I am ready to finish Caravel. Now, I have 170 pages left, so I'm thinking I walk 6 miles today and then hopefully finish. And if I haven't finished, then I need to finish this book today. Like, I need to not even entertain the idea because we've officially been doing this for a week. I was planning for this video to take 4 days, maybe 5. So the fact that we've officially been doing this for a week and I still have 170 pages left of a book, it's kind of killing me. So I got out of work a couple minutes ago. It is now 6:20. I am going to hit the trail and I'm not gonna walk obviously past sundown because once I get home, we are watching the next thing chronologically in the Star Wars universe, which would be the first episode of Obi-Wan. Let's finish this book and then we'll do a little recap. It's been an adventure. I was trying to remember what book A was and I forgot what book A was. So we'll actually cover that in the recap because I think that says a lot about the book. But 2, I also think that we've had a lot of conversations. We've done a lot of talking. I'm honestly so scared this is going to be a 1-hour vlog. Guys, when I tell you, I have enough footage to make this a 1.5 hour thing. Like, it's going to be a movie. I'm going to have to make some serious cuts. If this is under an hour, just know that I made some serious cuts. It's just so humid and muggy. Like, I'm literally dressed like I'm working out because this is going to be a workout. I'm going to sweat to death. Oh, there's a bee outside my car door window. No, thank you.
'Cause I was crying yesterday, but look at me today. It has been so long since I wrote a sad song. Sunshine on my face, I'm feeling okay. Nothing's in my way. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I put a dress on today. I don't care what you say. And I'm ignoring my phone, so don't try to reach me. I can't do nothing for you, so don't ask.
Give me like a couple minutes. I have 11 pages left, so we're just gonna, because listen, I refuse to go to sleep tonight without finishing this vlog, so let's go.
One day at a time, 'cause I was crying yesterday, but look at me today. It has been so long since I wrote a sad song.
I just finished Book C. Let's talk about our books. Let's bring up our chart, our beautiful empty chart. We're gonna start with Book A, All of Us Villains. Was it enjoyable to read? Yes. Was it amazing? No. Would I recommend it to anyone? It's not very complex, so it's really good for someone who's not a reader, who's not looking for all those fun complexities and all of that. As for Book B, we read Belladonna. Belladonna was honestly so phenomenal. I cannot wait to read the next book in the series, and thankfully it starts with an F, so I'll be reading that in the next ABC series, unless you can recommend another book that starts with F that seems more intriguing. I really want to look up Pinterest boards of like the aesthetics of this book series, but I'm so horrified it's going to give me spoilers, and I'm enjoying it so much that I don't want spoilers. We'll get there after we read Book 3, which I think literally just came out. And then of course for Book C, Caravel. Now, Caravel is honestly so amazing. Like, it reads really easy. In my opinion, there's a lot of golden nuggets in there. It's so beautifully written. Like, if I could sit down and have lunch with Stephanie Garber and just pick her brain, my life would be complete. There's just something about every single character that she writes, every world that she writes is stunning. And the fact that, y'all, I I don't know if I told you this before. I just found out that she's making a 4th Caraval book. Apparently it's like book 3.5, so it's probably going to be more like a novella, but it's literally called Spectacular, and it's coming out this November. I could not be more pumped to read that book. Like, words cannot express how badly I need to read that book. I need that book like I need oxygen. Hello and welcome back to Ruby Jean Reads. I'm Ruby Jean. I like to read. This is episode 2 of my Reading the Alphabet Challenge. A couple things to start off. I know you guys are like, great, it's episode 2. We're gonna read books D, E, and F. No. After going through 3 hours of footage and spending over a week filming A, B, and C, it occurred to me this challenge is only going to happen if I make a video for 2 books. Obviously, now I'm at an odd number, so I'll probably have to do X, Y, Z in one video. We'll get there when we get there. But for today, we're just going to be reading book D and book E. My goal is to read 2 letters from the alphabet every single week to the end of the year so that I finish this challenge by the end of the year. Now, as for what you're here for, you want to know what book D is. So I am happy to announce that book D is none other than the Super Book Talk viral book, Divine Rivals. I am reading this one on an e-copy that I got from my local library for a couple reasons. I am very excited to read this book, but I would be lying if I didn't say that I have heard so many reviews that book 2 was kind of a flop. I was looking forward to buying the physical copy, but after hearing that book 2 wasn't phenomenal, I was kind of nervous to get a physical copy. Because then I'm going to be in another situation like Fourth Wing, where I was obsessed with the first book, got the physical copy. Book 2 was, no offense, but it was horrible. I really did not enjoy it in the slightest. But now, because I own the first 2 books and their physical copies, I'm gonna have to own all 5 books as they come out and read them, despite how much I do not like them. I hope that she takes a lot of the criticism from the second book and makes the third book better. I'm not saying there's no hope there, but this video is not about my opinions on the Fourth Wing series. That could be its whole own video, frankly. But no, this is really just about not wanting to buy a physical copy for a book that I don't think I'm gonna love the whole series. However, I have heard only positive, amazing things about Divine Rivals. So that is where we're going to start today. Much like a lot of the books that I'm picking up for this series, and pretty much any book I pick up in life, I know nothing about it. Honestly, I think this is one of my biggest strengths, is that I don't need to, nor do I frankly want to, read the blurb of what a book is about before I read it. According to my ebook, this is 398 pages. Now, I will say, Book E is extremely short, which is where I get to the exciting part of this challenge. It is currently 10 a.m. on a Saturday. I'm going to try to read book D and E in under 24 hours. Here's how I think I can accomplish this. I intentionally made this weekend as empty as possible. I have nothing that needs to get done these next 2 days, except for go to church on Sunday. On top of that, my husband, although we will miss him dearly, had a 14-hour shift today. So he left, and he's not getting back until well after I'm gonna be asleep. I literally have nothing going on. I am home alone all stinking day with nothing but these 2 books that I am super excited to read. If you want to guess in the comments what book E is before I reveal it, the title starts with an E, and there is a movie based off of it. That is a widely known and loved movie. If this movie was not a part of your childhood, are you okay? Like, where did your love for fantasy come from if you did not grow up on this movie? So let's read for a little bit, and then once we hit that 25% mark, we'll have initial thoughts and feelings and emotions. This is so exciting. I'm gonna try to actually talk to you guys because I could read this book in one sitting today. And I'm gonna try to take breaks so that we can chat in a non-spoiler way, of course.
I think I've fallen for you. And I don't know why, I don't know why. You love that summer rain in mid-July, mid-July. My last name fits you better. When I'm with you, there's no pressure. I miss your worn-out sweaters. Weather couldn't compromise our love. I spent too much time on us.
Let me just say that, wow, I was not expecting anything that I have read up until this point. I don't have words. I hit exactly page 100, so chapter 13. If it were not for the determination to not cry with liquid eyeliner on, I would have sobbed at 2 points thus far. I don't know what I was expecting. I think I was expecting something a little more fantasy. My hair still looks wet even though I washed it like 2 hours ago. Oh, that's another thing. It is 12. I'm trying to document this now because I'm like, okay, I said I want to finish this in 24 hours, so now I actually want to see if I can. So we are 2 hours into our 24 hours of trying to read both these books. I can honestly say this is going to be a 5-star read. Oh my word. It is so well written, beautifully written, and just like emotionally jarring. Also, when you read a title like Divine Rivals, the last thing I was expecting was like workplace rivalry. That was not at all on the docket in my brain. Don't know what I was expecting, but it surely wasn't that. Especially with the title Divine Rivals, but we also learn that there is another rivalry of the gods. So I guess that's where Divine Rivals comes in. I was expecting it to be between the main character and someone else. So that's why I was really thrown off when it was like workplace rivalry. This isn't the author's terminology, this is me summarizing. There's basically the god of death and the goddess of music, and they're beefing, and we're not really sure why. And the main character's older brother decides to go fight for like this goddess of like music, right? And there's nothing fantastical about the world. Like, there's like mythology, but there's not magic. So it's not the kind of fantasy book I was expecting it to be. And I'm actually not mad. Maybe I just needed a break from fantasy and magic in general. At first, I was disappointed that this was a workplace rivalry, but in all reality, I am eating it up. Especially in journalism. Listen, I was a journalist major in college, and although I never did journalism ever as a profession, it is intense. I can feel the intensity. I'm eating it up. I'm enjoying it. I just really don't have any words, because honestly, anything I say after that really is just going to be a spoiler, and this is spoiler free. If you haven't read this book, you need to go pick it up. It feels so original. It feels so fresh and so new. I feel like with the rise of book talk and everything, people basically want to find dupes of their favorite books. Like, it's not even about finding original artistry, it's about just like trying to replicate a feeling you got with another book. And although I do think there's a time and place for that, I get it. I'm a mood reader. A lot of times I do enjoy a book that's a retelling or based off of something else or inspired by something else I have not read. Let me preface that, because I don't want anyone coming after me being like, well, this book is a lot like this book. Okay, for me, I have never read a book even remotely similar to this one. It's just so beautiful. All right, I'm gonna refill my coffee and keep reading because I don't want to stop. Like, I've been on fire for reading recently, but I haven't just like cranked out a book like this purely because it's all I wanted to do.
Gotta tell you all my secrets, and you know that just ain't easy for me. Oh baby, won't you come to my town? Last time around you ain't come to my house. Stay for a while, me, my mama and my family. We'll see, let's see.
This might be, and I do not say this lightly, the best book I've read so far this year. Honestly, I think the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy, like, it really does hold a special place in my heart, but like, this book is on that level. Okay, so it's 3:37 right now. I have less than 100 pages left. And when I tell you, I'm scared because I'm kind of at this point where it's like, I want the book to end right now. Like, this page I just read, I want it to be the last page. And the fact that there are almost 100 pages left horrify me because I am traumatized because I read Sarah J. Maas. And I know a lot can happen in that last 100 to 50 page stretch. And I'm so scared. I've already cried 4 times reading this book. I am in love with the plot. I am in love with the writing style. I'm in love with the characters. I'm in love with the romance, the vibes, the era, like everything. And the thing is, like, it's not a happy book. Like, this is a time of war and people are dying and it's so tragic. But at the same time, it's like this story is like light in the time of darkness. I feel this story in my soul. I need to text my friend Caitlin, who's read this book. I need to finish this book right now. Just right now. I need to finish it. I'm so scared. I'm literally... I'm kind of at this point where I just know this is too good to be true. I am so scared. Everything's perfect and I know something's gonna happen. My anxiety is really ramping up right now and I can't say anything because I don't want to spoil it, but I just can't process my emotions right now. It's 4 o'clock, by the way, in case you were wondering.
A couple people trying to make up for your broke heart, looking for love, and I think that I'm a good start. I know that you've been through a whole lot, but I have too. So baby, when you're missing me and it feels right, and I'm in your dreams like every night, I don't know why you won't give me another chance. With all our years in an hourglass, yeah. I think I've fallen for you.
Okay, 5 stars, 5.5 stars, maybe 6 stars. I need book 2, like, right this second. But the next book starts with an R. We're only on E. R is so far away, and I don't know what to do. I had to take a minute. It's now 5 o'clock. I needed a minute because if I had tried to talk to the camera in that moment, I think I would have just cried, like vented in text form to my husband and my friend Caitlin. And I think I'm now ready. Let's start with the chart. Book D, Divine Rivals. 5 stars, without a doubt. Here's the thing. I'm not going to talk anymore about the book because I think if you watched what I just experienced, I don't think I really need to talk about the contents of the book anymore. I think you get it. Book 2 would have to be insane to even compare to book 1. I don't know. I'm just a little scared to read book 2. Like, I need it, but at the same time, I'm horrified that I'll only be disappointed. The last thing I want to do right now is pick up another book, but I must say, I could not be happier to pick up this book because I know it's not going to let me down. Now, book E is nice and short, so even though it's 5 and we have 5 hours till my bedtime, I know for a fact we're going to finish this one with more than enough time to watch the movie. Now listen, I grew up on this movie, one of my favoriteest movies of my childhood. Did not know it was based off a book. I feel a little silly because it definitely is very book coded, but that is Ella Enchanted. I feel like for episode 1 we had like a nostalgic book. Episode 2 we have a nostalgic book. Don't expect me to keep up that trend though. It really just happened like this. It all started because I was looking up a book that started with an E and no one had recommended a book that started with an E yet. So I was like, okay, I'll do some research. Looked on my TBR. Not a single book that started with an E. That wasn't like the 5th book in a series. So I was like, okay. I typed in the letter E to Goodreads and then filtered it by title. And this came up and I was like, what? But honestly, the more I searched, there was no book that started with an E that seemed interesting to me. Anywho, this is a library copy, so it's a little rough around the edges. It's very well loved, to say the least. I'm gonna read this. Hello, buddy.
Hi, buddy. What are you doing?
Recovering. I'm also vlogging, so say hello to the camera.
Hello, camera.
I don't know how I'm gonna recover from Divine Rivals.
I know, it's so good. What is he?
E is Ella Enchanted, and then I'm gonna bake banana bread muffins and watch the movie tonight.
I love it.
I love it too.
I wasn't gonna spoil anything for you.
Right.
But it like actually broke me.
Listen, I was sobbing before things even went wrong because I knew.
I think when I knew was when he was
Yes. Okay, yes. And then when they said that, I was like, we're really just gonna pretend.
like, we're just gonna choose to ignore that. Cool.
So sorry, I did have to take that. Do you want to say hello? Say hello. I do feel better after talking to someone else. Now, as for Ella Enchanted, we are going to, as you probably heard me tell Caitlin on the phone, we're going to read the book, we're gonna bake something, and then we're just gonna watch the movie. There's only 230 pages, and look at how many words are on a page. We're gonna fly through this book. I do need to bake banana muffins, So I do have to make more of that. I might make some cookies as well, just to surprise Sebastian when he gets home, because I know he likes cookies. And I like to surprise him by baking him things, because that's my love language, is to bake people things. So come hang out with me one day and I'll bake you something. That's just how I communicate my love. I'll also make you a coffee. I'll make you coffee and we'll eat cookies or scones or muffins and we'll read books. I don't think anyone's running to grab this book from their local library if they haven't read it as a child, so I'm actually probably going to talk about this book pretty openly. I'm going to retract my previous statement about this being a fully spoiler-free vlog. There's going to be a little bit of spoiling going on here, but in my opinion, if this is a spoiler for you because you haven't seen the movie, what are you doing? Pause this, watch Ella Enchanted, then come back to this and hit play. I know I haven't even been reading for a hot minute. Ella's dad is the worst. Like, hey baby. I don't remember what role the dad plays in the movie, but like, he's actually the worst in this book. Like, doesn't even love his wife, doesn't care that she died, only cares that apparently the prince, so Prince Charmant, comes to the funeral because apparently the family was like very upper class. And the worst part is that he wasn't even upper class until he married Ella's mom. So he's literally like a gold digger. I've officially hit the halfway point of this book at around page 118, so a couple pages over halfway. And let me just say, I've got some beef with this book. It's not that deep, but I'm making it that deep. I don't know, like, listen, the directors and producers and all that had to take so much creative liberty with the movie, but I'm so glad that they did. Something that really bothers me is how sexist this book is. It's humorous. Like, you can tell that a man wrote this about a 15-year-old girl, because first of all, girls aren't like this. Second of all, he's writing that, like, Prince Char is like,
silly girls, like, girls are always causing problems, and me and my knights always have to solve so many problems because of silly girls, and if girls weren't so silly, then we would be out of a job.
Kind of the idea. And then Ella laughs at this, like she also thinks it's funny. And I'm like, my Ella Enchanted would never. So, hello. Oh, hello. Please stop. You're being intrusive. Something else about Prince Char, you can tell that although he's like a good man at heart, and as much as he wants to be good, he definitely has some of that negative influence from his father. And Ella helps him see that. Hello. Ella helps him see that negative influence, and oh, Ella helps Char see that he has some negative influence from his father. That is not the case in the book. In the book, it's literally like, she meets him as a child, she thinks he's so sweet and nice, like she never goes through a phase where she thinks he's a spoiled little brat. They're just friends off the bat, and then he just rescues her all the time, and he's perfect. I don't like that. I really like how the movie added complexity and realism to that relationship. I don't like the crappy father plotline. It's just a little much. Like, can this girl have something in her life that's not going south? Her mother's dead. Her father sucks. Her fairy godmother is like the worst. And the stepsisters are also horrible, as you know from watching the movie. Also, I'm convinced after reading this that me and my husband need to be Ella and Prince Char for Halloween. I wonder if they're gonna do the whole king finding out about her obedience thing and convincing her to betray Prince Char. Because if they do that, I would be very surprised at this point, because I'm halfway through the book and I don't even think we've really met the king other than when he showed up at that one funeral. There was something else. Oh yeah, the boyfriend. You know how like the magic book, right, is really Benny? Benny is not in this. And Benny is one of my favorite parts of Ella Enchanted. So the fact that Benny the boyfriend who's trapped in the book doesn't exist actually breaks my heart. Let's just say I'm very interested to see how this is gonna end. So let's keep reading because I need to watch this movie. It is currently 7 o'clock. So it took me, what, an hour to read the first half of the book? So it should take me an hour to finish it. Give or take a couple minutes. of the day, I'm gonna take my makeup off and we're gonna chat and then we're gonna watch Ella Enchanted. I remembered a couple chapters in because this book was so boring that I was able to think about what I was gonna eat tonight, what I wanted to bake, and it occurred to me that we ran out of butter yesterday. There were like 3 different things I had in my mind that I wanted to make, and all of them include butter, so I will not be baking tonight. Well, first of all, let's pull off the chart. Book E, Ella Enchanted. We've officially finished it. This book inspired one of my favorite childhood movies. I would be super lame to like discount that and not consider that. So you know what? It gets bonus points for inspiring. And I use the word inspiring very loosely because this book is quite literally just Cinderella, beginning to end, with the exception that there are giants and she has to obey everything that she's told. There have been so many Cinderella retellings, and when I tell you every single time, there's never been a single explanation for why this one shoe only fits Cinderella and no one else. Thankfully, though, in this book, they do explain it because she's technically half fairy or a quarter fairy, so her feet stopped growing. I think they said the age was like 9 years old. So like one of the traits of a fairy is crazy small feet, and that's like one of the fairy traits that she got. So there's at least an explanation for why she's the only person who can wear this stinking shoe. That has always bothered me more so than it should. I know this was written by a man for young girls, but this book was not for young girls. The movie, on the other hand, the movie's for the girls. Well, I have nothing to bake and nothing else to do for the rest of the night. It is a little bit past 8. Whoa, hold up. It's 8. It's only been 10 hours. I said I was going to read both these books in under 24 hours, and I read them under 12 hours. I am very impressed with myself. Good job, Ruby. If you saw episode 1, which what are you doing watching episode 2 if you haven't watched episode 1? If for any chance you didn't, I was really discouraged that it took me forever to read those 3 books. And I know, okay, I get some comments from people being like, how do you get so much time to read? I wish I had so much time to read. Guys, I don't. I do not by any means have a lot of free time. This is what I spend my free time doing. Also, a little life hack. If I ever have a day like this where I know I have free time and I want to spend it a specific way, in this case reading, I go to the settings on my iPhone and I go to offload apps. And I offload TikTok and Instagram because those are the 2 that like I'll scroll through Reels and TikToks all the time. That is my best life hack to you because I used to think that I had no time, but in reality, if I ever had pockets of time here and there, I would just spend it scrolling. If I know that I'm gonna have time to scroll and I want to spend it doing other things, whether that's more productive or more intentional rest, I offload those apps. That's typically comments coming from people who haven't actually been around, so they're not aware I'm working full time. I feel like sometimes people just assume if you're posting YouTube videos, you're making a ton of money off of it. I am not. I'm actually making barely any money at all. Trust me, if however much you think I'm making 10% of that. Potentially even less. Although if you do want to help and support my channel, fun fact, you can do one of 2 things. Watch the ads and do not skip them. Fun fact, you do not make money on ads as a YouTuber if they're skipped. So if you really want to support a baby channel like mine, or really just any small YouTuber that you love, do not skip the ads. Number 2, obviously books are expensive. So if you actually go down to my description, I have a title that says choose my next read. And that's actually a wish list of all the books that I would love to read for vlogs for you guys. So if you, by any chance, have a book that you really, really want me to read in a vlog, you can select a book from that list and send it to my house, and I would read it in a vlog. Anywho, my bedtime is 10 o'clock, and it is currently 8:15, and I think Ella Enchanted is an hour and 45 minutes. So by all means, this is technically the end of the video, but we are going to be watching Ella Enchanted, of course. I am currently taking suggestions for books G, I, and K. Those are the upcoming books that I actually don't have pre-selected. So if you know any books that you absolutely love that you think I would give 5 stars to, that start with G, I, or K, please put them in the comments down below and I will thoroughly research them on Goodreads and maybe even read them in an upcoming episodes of the ABC Reading Challenge. Hello and welcome to Ruby Jean Reads. I'm Ruby Jean. I like to read. And today we're going to be doing episode 3 of the ABC Reading Challenge. You might be wondering a couple things. Let's start with, what books are we reading today? For sure, books F and book G. Second, you might be wondering,
Ruby, why are we filming the intro on the couch? We haven't done that in a really long time.
There happens to be a wasp in my bedroom and I am home alone. So for the next 12 hours until Sebastian comes home, I will not be going into my bedroom. Starting off with book F, which is Foxglove. I read the first book in the series, Belladonna, in episode 1. Spoiler alert, I guess, if you haven't seen that one yet. And I have been thinking about this book a lot since I read it. So I am especially excited to be reading Foxglove. Oh, by the way, spoiler free. If you're new here, hello. If I'm doing a reading vlog like this or a reading challenge, it will be spoiler free. If you're new here, this is also Soka, my puppy, my baby girl. I am especially excited for G. This was actually one of the ones that was recommended in my comment section. So that being said, guys, if there are any books that you would like to recommend for me to read in any future episodes of the ABC Reading Challenge, you just have to let me know. Every single book that has been recommended to me, I have done research on. And by all means, I'm just gonna jump into Foxglove. On the front, it says, "Death is her destiny, fate has other plans." Ooh, actually, I already have a theory of what this book's gonna be about based off of something that might have been foreshadowing in book 1. Interesting. I'm also really excited that book 3 of the series does start with a W. It's Wisteria, and I don't know what that is yet because I don't think we've heard that word before in the book series, whereas we know Foxglove, that's the name of the estate, I guess, that she was born in, but Wisteria is not something we've heard before, so I'll be interested to see if they name drop the third book in book 2. I kind of love when authors do that. So by all means, let's start with Foxglove. I've officially gotten to chapter 11 and page 98 of Foxglove, and now I have a lot of thoughts. Totally loving the setup. I must say, I already kind of have a strong prediction for how this is gonna go and end, but I also did for the last book and I was proven wrong and surprised. So I'm not too confident my prediction's correct, but as for right now, the plot does seem like a little bit predictable. Something I really enjoyed about the first book is that it was one POV. Although I really love multi-POVs, don't get me wrong, love them so much, something that really was relieving about Belladonna was that it wasn't multi-POV, and sometimes that is refreshing when it feels like most books you pick up today are multi-POV. Thankfully though, it is mostly the main character, and there's like a second POV that comes up every couple chapters, so it's not the end of the world. Other thing is, we did finally see the word Wisteria, and it's actually a location. Am I a little annoyed that Foxglove and Wisteria are locations, but Belladonna, the first book, is not a location? A little bit. Am I loving the book? Yes. Do I love when book to book of a trilogy they shift who the main character is? No. I won't say she's the main character. I think Signa is definitely still our main character, but if you guys remember from episode 1, I did have a lot of hesitations for liking Signa. I just feel like her character wasn't fully developed, and this new character is. Like, she's really confident in herself, she has a really strong personality, but not in a way that's like cringy to read, but in a way that's comforting. Like, I know what to expect from this character, and I do find that really enjoyable. So I did make it to part 2, which is actually a little over halfway through the book. I am loving this book. A couple things that I want to correct that I said earlier, because I don't want you to read or not read the book based off something that I said based off a first impression. That's not actually the case. This is a dual POV book, but it is not switching main characters. The new POV actually ends up being like the main character of a side plot, and then the side plot and the main plot actually do like interweave with each other and then like go back to being their own plots here and there. So it's really good, very well done, and I feel like it's a good way for us to get a more well-rounded story. I feel like usually when you see a dual POV and there is romance involved, you're usually getting the main character and the love interest, but that's actually not the case. This follows another girl in the storyline, which I honestly totally love. Also because I really like her as a character. Then also jumping to Signa. I feel so bad that I've been like dragging this girl through the mud for having basically no personality. I do like Signa. I just feel like she's so much of a people pleaser that we don't actually know who she truly is at her core. But I'm starting to see how the author's actually using that to build her character, because her character development thing right now is that she has no identity and she doesn't know who she is. And when I was reading her internal monologue about her identity crisis, I was like, oh my word, it makes so much sense that we don't know who she is because she doesn't even know who she is. Whether or not that was intentional on the author's part, I'm not really sure, but I'm choosing to think it was intentional. I am very thrilled to keep reading this tomorrow. Why is this eye yellow and this eye is silver? Did I just discover foreshadowing on the cover? I think, I don't know that means something, but I think that means something. That is bonkers. Look at that. I don't know why, but seeing that made me really want to keep reading. But no, I need to do the dishes and go to bed. Let's jump forward to tomorrow morning and we read before church. Okay. It's the next day. Fun fact, I decided to sleep in and I'm already back from church. So it's quite literally like the afternoon, but we are officially going to be picking up Foxglove. You're probably wondering, Ruby, you're in your room. What happened to the wasp? That's a great question. We don't know. I really did struggle to fall asleep last night because of it, which is probably why I slept in. But my husband got home and we both had like a flip-flop in hand, like going around the room trying to find this wasp. Could not find it anywhere. The only logical conclusion we came to is that it flew into the air vent, which we actually can close. So we did close our air vents. We'll deal with that another day. But for now, at least we're safe. None of us got stung in the middle of the night. But let me tell you, between last night and this morning, I have seen multiple tarantula-esque spiders, as well as my dog, somehow, she found a slug outside, and without me knowing, she brought it inside and I found her playing with it on the carpet. So it's been emotionally a very hard couple hours dealing with all of the lovely critters in my home. But that's not why you're here. You're here to watch me read Foxglove and give spoiler-free opinions. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. I don't really see the point of the name of this book. Like, if anything, Foxglove would have made more sense for the first book to be named Foxglove. Why does this book smell like the beach? This book does kind of smell like how books do after you've been at the beach. Hey baby girl. I love you. I love you. I just want to say I have the most hysterical track record for saying something and then literally it not being true because of the next chapter. I literally just read the first sentence and it's about Foxglove. I take back everything I said about the title not being relevant. Also, another side note worth mentioning, and another reason why I feel a little silly, the whole like two colored eye things is not special. That's literally like one of the things they talk about in the first book that makes her look so unique. It just wasn't discussed yet in the book, but it just came up again in a chapter I just read and I was like, oh, right, she has two different color eyes. Like, that's one of the things that makes her stand out in book one. So I feel a little ridiculous for being so excited and having like a bunch of theories about the multicolored eyes. Nope, I just forgot that detail. Guys, this is why usually when I read a series, I read them all back to back. So we have officially made it to part 3 of Foxglove, and I must say, I fear we have forgotten the original plot. Do I like where this book is going? Absolutely, but I did really enjoy the first plot more because it did feel original, whereas the second plot feels a little cliche. Another option, obviously, is that part 3 finds a way to mix both plots together, which I would really enjoy that, so I do really hope that's what this is. 100% would recommend these in the fall if you're looking for like a good spooky book that's not like a thriller, or if you're just into dark academia books all year round, then I guess these would be really good for spring, because I think this primarily takes place in spring and it has a lot of fun like springy floral themes. Depending on what kind of reader you are, this is either a spring or a fall read. Let's finish Foxglove real quick, put it in the chart, and then I'll tell you all about book G. So I have officially finished Foxglove, and I do think I want to sit with my feelings on this book a little bit longer before I babble about it, because, oh, what am I kidding? Let's babble about it. I'm thinking 3.5 stars, mostly because I can't decide between 3 stars and 4 stars. Here's the thing, the book was good. There are 2 things though that really just aren't sitting right with me, and frankly they're my fault. First things first, usually after I get through that 25% of a book, I like to guess at potential endings, and maybe it's just because I read Sarah J Maas, but I feel like as of recent years my theories have gotten more and more unhinged, which is very fun for me, but it does kind of suck when I'm actually right. I did throw out a super unhinged theory at the beginning of this book, and it ended up being the big plot twist, and because of that, it was not exciting for me. Then on top of that, there's another plot twist in the epilogue that also wasn't really exciting for me, and that I also kind of guessed. It also did feel like a little bit of a throwaway how it came about and how nothing was really done about it. Didn't love that. And I know I said 2 things, but let's make it 3. I feel like this book was really just a transition between book 1 and book 3. The reason why I say that is because they really did set up book 3 to be a really good book, and honestly what I was actually hoping to see in book 2. Also, there has been a huge mystery since literally the prologue of book 1, and it's driven me insane how we have proceeded to just graze over what happened in the prologue. Like, no one's asking questions, no one's curious. And I thought surely in book 2 that would be the problem that we solve, but I think they're going to save it for book 3. If the problem is not solved in book 3, I will riot. But you know what? Let's take a break from that and let's start book G, which is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Simply because the TV show came out earlier this week, so what I want to do is try to read along while I watch the show. Now, as much as I have searched and searched and searched, I have yet to find a guide online about what chapters each episode covers. So I'm gonna have to guess, which I know is kind of dangerous for spoiling things for myself, but I'm gonna be really careful. Like, I'm gonna read the first 25% of the book before I even see episode 1, and then we'll kind of feel it out. And I'm just gonna be a good sport if something gets spoiled for me, because I'm truly doing this to myself. No one's forcing me to do this. I'm doing this for fun. This is still spoiler free, so I'm also not going to be spoiling anything about the show, and I'm going to be really mindful about not showing anything of the show that would be considered a spoiler. But I will give a spoiler free review of the show as well, but more from the mindset of comparing it to the book, because I will say I'm not necessarily a TV show connoisseur, but I am very picky about my books, especially my books that have been adapted to a TV show or a movie. I think I'm just gonna read to the 25% mark and then let's watch the first episode. I just read the prologue of this book and I'm already hooked. Okay, I need to start chapter 1, but oh my word, this is insane. I just finished part 1 of Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and I honestly cannot say enough amazing things about this book so far. Super popular girl at school disappears and is assumed to be. Then shortly after, her boyfriend is found to have himself, and there was a bunch of evidence that it was him, so they think that like he did it and then out of guilt took himself out of the picture. Now 2 years have gone by, and there's this basically underclassman, but now she's a senior, but she was an underclassman when all this went down, and she's decided that for her senior capstone, she's going to investigate that murder because she doesn't actually think the boyfriend did it. Words cannot describe how glued to this book I was. I'm torn because the book is so good that I'm dying to watch the TV show to see if the TV show is 1, as good, and 2, if I'm like imagining things the way the show decides to portray them. But then on another note entirely, the book is so good that I don't want to put it down to watch the show. I want to keep reading. So I've decided I'm just gonna watch episode 1 and see where it ends. I hate that it's already 6:30 because I genuinely wish that I could just not go to sleep tonight until this book and this TV show is done. But I don't really plan on pulling an all-nighter when I have work tomorrow, so that's not gonna happen. Episode 1 was phenomenal that I could not resist starting episode 2. I must say I did get about 40 minutes in and then I realized I actually wasn't aware of what was going to happen next, which means I think I'm officially like caught up to areas in the book where I haven't read it yet. So I guess sadly I'm gonna have to take a break from the TV show, but honestly this book is so good that I'm not actually super mad about picking up the book right now. So I am going to start part 2 right now. It is 7:45. And for those of you who are doing the time in your head and you're like, how did you watch 2 45-minute episodes that fast? I do watch on 1.5 speed. I think listening to audiobooks at 3 times speed has kind of messed me up. Like, even when I watch TikToks and stuff, I have to watch them at ×2 speed. Maybe that is a sign of a dopamine addiction. Most likely it is. You know, that's not what we're working on right now. That's a problem for another day. Right now, the problem is I need to find out who in the world killed Andy, and is Peppa gonna figure it out? So I watched last night up until the very end of the episode 5, but I did have to stop a little bit early because I definitely knew that the next thing that was coming up I had not covered yet. So now we have to read the last and final part 3, and then we can watch the rest of the show. Because of the nature of book G, I feel like I haven't talked about the book a lot, nor the actual TV show, so let me just stop and take a minute, get you up to date before we finish this off strong. First off, I'm obsessed with this book. It's already 5 stars for me, and honestly, I don't even really have a theory for who did it. Honestly, the book is so good and so entertaining that I haven't really had time to fixate on who I think the murderer is, and I kind of like it that way. I feel like the issue with Foxglove was that the book was just slow enough that I had a lot of time to think about who possibly is the main culprit. But with this book, it's so fast-paced and I'm so intrigued that I had to take a minute, 75% of the way through the book, to actually go, oh, who do I think the murderer is?
That's bonkers.
Honestly, the book alone is amazing. The TV show alone is amazing. And they're very different, but they honestly did such a good job encapsulating like the vibes, but then also the main plot. I will say that the TV show definitely puts a little bit more fixation on like that teenage romance. And it is so beautifully done. Like, I'm just giggling and smiling the whole time because it's so fun and enjoyable. In the book, you don't really get much of that. Like, there's definitely been hints of it here and there, but nothing bonkers, really. So as for our main differences, first main difference is that there's a more meaningful insight as to why Pippa wants to investigate this murder in the TV show. That is maybe the one thing that fell flat for me in the books, and I feel like the TV show did a really good job making that more of a reveal as to why she feels like she needs to investigate this murder. One of the biggest differences off the bat is that this book takes place in America, but the TV show takes place in Great Britain. I think that does, 1, amazing things for the aesthetics. 2, they have such an amazing lineup of actors. There are a couple things that I'm sad that they left out, side plots that were merged with other plot lines, but in reality, I think it was just to save time. I do really think this could have been an 8-episode TV show instead of 6 if they really wanted to delve more into what the books lays out for the show, but I also understand. So I'm going to start part 3 right now, and I'm going to read as much as I can on my lunch break, which might not be a lot, but we're gonna see what we can do. Yeah, I did not get very far at all, but I will say I did make a mistake. I only really watched the first 10 minutes of episode 5, so I have almost 2 episodes. Soka, calm down. Come here. Why are you playing with your loudest toy? You have not touched that toy all day. And now I'm recording, and now you want to bring it up here to show it to me. Okay, come here. Anywho, so I have 2 episodes now to watch, not 1 like I originally thought. Do you want someone to play tug of war with you? Is that it? I'm like not ready for this experience to be over. I guess it is a trilogy, so I guess it's not really like over, but something about watching the TV show along with the book makes the experience so much more fun. Honestly, I'd highly recommend it, so long as you're not going to get like crazy upset if there's a spoiler. I mean, you can technically use this video as a reference. I don't really want to wait until season 2 comes out to read the rest of the series, so unfortunately that is not going to wait. I've already put a request in for it in my Libby account, so I'll have book 2 in a couple weeks. Unfortunately, it also starts with a G, so I won't be able to read it as part of the ABC reading challenge. But you know, if I read more of the books and I have opinions, I'll let you know my thoughts in later episodes. After severe whiplash and a wide range of emotions, I can officially say that I have finished A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. And when I say this might be one of the best murder mystery books I have ever read, I mean that. It was fast-paced, it was fun, it had amazing characters, it had really good side plots. The ending was surprising while not being outlandish. I feel like sometimes murder mysteries feel the need to throw the biggest curveballs at you to have an unexpected ending, but then the endings end up being so unrealistic that the whole book falls flat. That was not the case with this book. Overall, undoubtedly a phenomenal book. I'm going to add to our chart A Good Girl's Guide to Murder and give it a whopping 5 stars. I'm just so happy. Guys, I'm glowing. This is the post 5-star book glow. And now I get to finish this TV show, which also is phenomenal. I really hope they finished the show the same way the book did, because I feel like the book really balanced a surprising ending while also still maintaining a reasonable ending. I can't really show much of the end of the show without spoiling it, but I must say this show was absolutely amazing. They ended it the same as the books, although they did take a couple creative twists here and there, but they stayed true to the original plot. Totally giving the TV show 5 out of 5 stars.
Good morning and welcome back to Ruby Jean Reads. I'm Ruby Jean. I like to read. And today we are going to be continuing the alphabet challenge. A couple things off the bat. We're going to be starting with book H today. I am very sick, so I sound really nasally, but I also am like kind of whispering because Sebastian's still asleep because it's 8 a.m. in the morning. Last but not least, today is September 1st. You're probably watching this well into September, but because it is the 1st of September, I have my flannels, I have my pumpkin pillow, I also have my pumpkin mug. So now is really not a good time, if I'm being totally honest. And then I made pumpkin chocolate chip muffins last night, and this is not for you. I think that would make you pretty sick, so we're going to keep you very far away from the muffin. You just ate breakfast, too. And by all means, let's start with book H, Happily Never After, and this is by Lynn Painter. I don't know, Lynn Painter has a way of encapsulating the 1990s rom-coms while still remaining original. She uses classic tropes, but she always finds a really fun take on them that isn't cringy, cheesy, or overdone. Basically, these two people on the cover, they're our main guy and main girl, and they are objectors, which means their job, like quite literally, people pay them to go to weddings and object at weddings, which is crazy. I feel like I'm gonna go through a spiral of listening to Speak Now by Taylor Swift after reading this book. And honestly, that's all I really know about it. I haven't actually read the back. It's kind of really long. It's a lot of words. There's almost as many words on the back as there is in this tiny little book. Good morning.
Okay, we are on page 68 of Happily Never After. I do have a lot of thoughts. I'm gonna summarize the first 15 pages for you because I fell in love with this book in the first 15 pages. The main girl is getting married. She is at the altar, but she knows her fiance is cheating on her. So her maid of honor, aka best friend, hired this friend of a friend. His thing is that he objects at weddings, and he objects at her wedding and basically confronts him on cheating. It's not just for the sake of her not doing it herself. Basically, the female main character's dad works for her fiance's dad, and she's 100% convinced that her dad would get fired if she called off the wedding. And also she knows that because of how her fiance's dad is, that everything would just get swept under the rug and she would look bad. So this way, the objector basically calls out the cheating in front of a crowd of people. So one, it's not her calling off the wedding, and two, there's no question as to why this wedding is getting called off. Honestly, it's really funny. It's totally genius. This book has had me laughing so hard, my liquid eyeliner, it's had to be cleaned up already once or twice because of how funny this book is. Within the first 15 pages, he calls off her wedding,
And when he like comes to collect the payment afterwards from her and the maid of honor, he ends up joining them for pizza and drinks. That all leads to the rest of the plot, which I'm not going to spoil because in my opinion you just need to read this book. First thing, the male main character is described as looking like he could be the stunt double of Henry Cavill. I love that. That's an amazing description. Like, I don't need to know anything else about him. I already have such a strong visual. Like, say no more. The second thing that I don't necessarily love, this could be intentional by Lynn Painter, so I'm not gonna write off this all of a sudden. It could be like a stylistic choice. We have dual POV, and we go back and forth between Sophie and Max, which are the main female character and the main male character. I love Sophie when I read about her from Sophie's perspective. Like when you hear her mind and her thoughts behind everything and all that. I love Sophie. But when I jump into Max's view of her, she's so annoying. Like, she's a pick-me girl. It's very much giving, I'm not like the other girls, which is so annoying because, like, can we please write an original female main character? Like, you're not unique and special because you like Cats and Taylor Swift. Like, if you ask me, majority of the females I know like Cats and Taylor Swift. So, like, why are we acting like you're not like the other girls? That has been really annoying, but I do think that's kind of a pattern in Lynn Painter's writing, is that her characters are obsessed with Taylor Swift and Cats, which, great. Don't make it your personality though. Like, let's find something else. Also, she doesn't believe in true love, which I feel like isn't in and of itself cringy, but for some reason, when she talks about not believing in true love in her own chapters, it makes sense. But when she talks about not believing in true love from Max's perspective in chapters, it seems really pick-me girl and like, I'm asking for you to change my mind. So, I don't know. Maybe that's intentional and they're trying to tell us something about Max's perception of her or her perception of herself. But it also could just be a disconnect. Like, I almost feel like Sophie is two different people in the two different POVs. Because of Sebastian's work schedule, we aren't going to be able to go to church physically. So I'm going to have to live stream church from home today, which I don't prefer. I'd prefer to go in person, but also it is what it is. I will be putting down my book to live stream my church's Sunday morning service, and then we'll jump right back into this.
I'm just so mad. Irrationally angry. And I'll preface this with, I love Lynn Painter. I honestly am in denial that this is actually a Lynn Painter book. This book had one of the most amazing premises. I loved the premise of this book. I was so excited about it. We have confused the difference between a slow burn and just blatant stupidity. It's so bad. Every single opportunity that there has been for a super romantic moment, the characters ruin it for the sake of complicating things. That is not a good slow burn. A good slow burn should be building up tension for the relationship. At this point, I could care less if they get together. If anything, I'm almost rooting for them not to get together. I definitely need a snack because I think I'm hungry and that could be contributing to like the frustration. But if you ask me, the first 75 pages were really, really good. Honestly, I don't know if it was exactly 75 pages, but like the first bit, like the first third of the book was actually really good. Everything after that has been horrible. Every single time I'm like, Lynn Painter cannot possibly mess up this amazing scene. She throws in something, and I think it's supposed to be building up my angst for them to get together, like that slow burn kind of idea. Guys, slow burn is my favorite. Slow burn is my favorite trope. This is possibly one of the most irritating, and not in a good way, depictions of a slow burn. If I was not, and this is a big statement I'm about to make, if I was not reading this video for a challenge, I would DNF it right now. It is 4 p.m. Need I remind you, I started this book around 8:30 a.m. I should not still be reading this book. This is ridiculous. I will also preface this by saying, it's possible that I could change my mind before the book is done. Who knows? This might end in a really creative and interesting way. However, I doubt it. Like, I can't even imagine a scenario in which this book ends and I'm less annoyed. Maybe I do need to go eat something. Here's what we're gonna do, because at this point, I just need the book to be over, and that's gonna be my motivation for finishing this book. First things first, I'm gonna eat something, because I think I'm cranky, because I'm like low-key hungry. Then we're gonna put my phone across the room, and we are just going to finish this book. And I'll give final opinions. If I hate it, Don't worry, I won't like trash it. I try not to be negative on here, but I also try to be honest, and honestly, I don't know what happened here. Everything about this book, like it's taking all of my favorite tropes and just butchering them. And that's really, really hard to read. So let's just rip the band-aid off, per se, and finish this book. Last thing, and then I swear I'll stop. No adults talk like this. I think that's what's really bothering me. I feel like that's something I've noticed in previous Lynn Painter books, but it was fine because it was so like fun and whimsical, but it's just like so painfully childish the way these adults talk, and it's under the guise of flirtiness. Also, that's another thing about the flirting. There is a difference between teasing someone and just outright bullying them. Like if a guy was interested in me and started talking to me like the way these two people talk to each other, I would suggest therapy. I wouldn't suggest a date. Just me, that could very well be a thing I'm just not used to. Like, I feel like hanging out with someone like this would be draining. The fact that she jokingly names a boat Bodie McBoatface, is that supposed to make me laugh? Like, I feel like that's something a kindergartner would name a boat. Like, that's just not funny. That's just like, you're a child. Why did this book make me laugh so hard in the first 75 pages, but all I can do is roll my eyes and patiently wait for this book to be over? I'm on page 207, by the way. I have officially finished Happily Never After. Did Lynn Painter try to give both characters a redemption arc at the end of this book? Yes. Was it satisfying? Not in the slightest. I don't think it was considered an epilogue. I think it was the last chapter, and it was a time jump, and I did like that per se, but at the same time, I just didn't like the book. Well, let's pull up the reading chart. We've officially read Book H, Happily Never After. I think I'm going to give this book 2 stars. If it were not for the fact that I now have to read Book I genuinely think this book would have put me into a reading slump. Do I necessarily recommend the book? No. If you are a sucker for romance, all you care is that you get a romance. I think it could be a fun read and it's short, but I'm very picky about romances. I just feel like this checked all the boxes of what I hate in a romance book. Unfortunately, I can't share a lot of those because I really just don't want to spoil the plot for you. So let's just move on to Book I. I must say, I didn't give any hints about this book. I know if you've seen any of my previous episodes, I usually give hints about the books coming later, but I honestly know nothing about this book. So Haley Pham, Sarah Caroli, and Destiny Sidwell, they'll occasionally do booktube videos together, like all 3 of them, and they're really fun to watch. Haley Pham read it in one of their vlogs where the 3 of them all read books together, and she loved it. I don't remember anything she said about it. I just remember that she liked it. If he had been with me. Do I know anything about this book? Absolutely not. I don't know if it's happy. If it's sad, I'm assuming it's a romance. The last thing I want to read right now is a romance, but maybe because I started with Happily Never After, the bar is going to be set really low for this one. So maybe I will really enjoy this if it's a romance. I mean, there's a heart-shaped sucker on it, so maybe I will like it. Unfortunately, I don't think it's fantasy, which I think is the only thing that's going to keep me from going into a major book slump after this. I don't think there's any fantasy in this book, unfortunately, but I'm just going to crank out as much of this book today as we can. But I'll check in with you at like the 25% mark. So I am over 30% of the way through If He Had Been With Me, and I'm flying through this book. I've been really struggling to put it down, which is really good considering how the last book ended and how I was feeling after finishing that book. But I'm honestly feeling really good about this book. Now, I'm not flying through the book because it's amazing or it's happy or the plot is super engaging. If anything, this book has been really hard to read. I think mostly because there are certain aspects to the main character that are a little painfully true about myself in like high school and middle school age, and I really just want to like jump into the pages and give her a hug and tell her that life does not need to be that complicated and that she's gonna be okay. So yeah, I feel like this book is almost like triggering to me because I really do not want to remember high school and middle school like at all, but I unfortunately am having to tolerate it to read this book. It's painful, but I feel like because of that, I'm really rooting for her and I want what's best for her, and I really hope things work out for her in the end of this book. I don't know. I feel like I've almost cried multiple times while reading this book just because of how
painful it is. Like, I feel for her. Thankfully, I didn't have it as bad as she does in the circumstances of her life, thank goodness. But the way she views life and the way she views friendships, the way she views relationships, the way she just views conflict in her life, I feel like her mindset and her way of thinking is very similar to what I struggled with in high school and middle school. Honestly, it's just painful to think about, so I won't talk about it too much. I feel like this is becoming a very dark and depressing vlog. I quite literally picked a bad book and a depressing book. I am afraid this book is not gonna have a happy ending. I am on chapter 26. I must say, chapter 1 is like a glimpse into the future. It's actually crazy. They tell you what the main conflict is gonna be in chapter 1, but then chapter 2 goes back in time, and that's like the rest of the story. I'm like so anxious because although I know what the conflict is, I'm kind of like, okay, but how did we get there? And I'm really scared about how we're gonna get there.
I read for a bit last night, had to literally rip my eyes away from this book, and then I woke up a little early just to read a bit more. I'm officially at chapter 75, and I'm 85% of the way through the book. It took everything in me to put this book down. It's just so captivating, and I just need to know what happens next. I'm so invested in this girl. I'm rooting for her. I want what's best for her. Honestly, it feels like you're reading her diary. I think that's something that I didn't really articulate before, and maybe it's because I hadn't really in my brain thought of it like that, but it's definitely what this is. You feel like you're reading this girl's diary from middle school up until right now. I'm at the summer before she goes to college. So quite literally the last 5 or 6 years of her life, and then there's a bunch of flashbacks, so you even see parts of her childhood. She's so introspective. I can definitely relate to that. But so much of what she writes is so captivating to me. Like I said before, I'll say it again, I'll keep saying it. I just want to jump into the page and give this girl a hug. I feel like we're starting to see a healing journey for her, which I was really hoping for. I think my biggest fear was that this book was going to end and nothing was going to change for her, but I feel like things are changing, whether or not for good or bad, I'm not quite sure. It's just very interesting to see her journey, and it feels very real. Like, it feels like this could have been based off of a true story. Sorry, the lighting is really dark and weird. I just have a lot of backlight today because it's a very sunshiny day, which in the valley, it's usually very cloudy and foggy, especially at this time of the day, so I'm not complaining about blue skies and sun, but it's definitely something I am not used to. If anything, I usually put my camera up there and I would be filming standing right in front of my bed, but it's so bright that I looked like Casper the Ghost. Literature is supposed to impact you, impact the way you think, impact the way you feel, and this book has definitely done that. If this isn't like an amazing plot, or I don't love that there's like a happily ever after or not, wow, the sun is really a paid actor today. Regardless of how the plot goes, there is simply no denying that this book did have a very emotional effect on me. It forced me to like think about things in different ways. So I just think that's really cool how literature can do that. I really do think that this book is going to haunt me, and I don't really mean that in a negative way. I feel like this book is going to stick with me for a very long time. So I did pick book J and book K today. Unfortunately, however, I will not be reading them today since I need to read Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. It is officially September, so I need to start this reread, and I have a friend coming over to watch the first movie tonight, so I need to finish this book. It's time to finish If He Had Been With Me. I'm honestly horrified. I've officially finished the most emotionally scarring book that I've ever read, and I'm just in shock. Add it to the chart. If He Had Been With Me, 5 stars. You should read this book, but I would highly suggest not expecting to function after you finish it for like 1 to 3 business days. Welcome to another episode of Ruby Jean Reads. I'm Ruby Jean. I like to read. And today we're going to be doing episode 5 of the ABC Reading Challenge. So as for book J, this is actually a book that I have been dying to read since middle school. So it is a young adult book. The cover literally says, a Sherlock Holmes crossed with Buffy the Vampire Slayer. This is a supernatural mystery thriller, and that is Jacoby. I know this is technically a series, but I've heard that you can just read the first book and it has like a solid ending. It's almost kind of like Sherlock Holmes where there's a different mystery with every book. So if I read the first book and I love it, great. If I don't, that's also fine. As you know, I'm always going to leave you hints as to what the next book is going to be. So as for book K, here are your hints. It has been turned into a Netflix original movie, and we will be watching it as soon as I finish reading it. And it had so many high school girls in a chokehold my senior year of high school. Or maybe it was my freshman year of college. Somewhere in that time zone. And somehow I know nothing about it. I know the main premise, but that's about it. Let's just kick things off with Jacoby.
So we're officially at the 25% mark, check-in. This isn't a bad book. It's not necessarily a good book either. In my opinion, it's just very surface level, I guess you could say. I'm not on the edge of my seat to find out who the murderer is. I feel like something has to happen to make this book interesting because the mystery in and of itself is not that interesting. So those are my observations so far. What do you think, Soka? I will say something funny and crafty and cute that I did like is that this girl, who is the Watson equivalent, when she actually meets him for the first time, she does make a joke like, oh, you're like that one guy being Sherlock Holmes. So although it's a very clear Sherlock Holmes retelling, they still paid homage to the original Sherlock Holmes. So I thought that was cool. I thought that was like a fun way to like call out the elephant in the room, I guess. I'm probably gonna try to finish the book before I like take a real break or eat dinner or anything, because in all reality, this is one of those books where if I set it down, I might have to like force myself to get interested in picking it up again. Not because it's bad, just because it's not particularly engaging or interesting. It's for some people, it's not for others. It's definitely not for me. If you are openly making a retelling of another story, you should expect for it to be compared to the source material as well as other retellings. I have watched many movies, watched many TV shows, read many books that are retellings of Sherlock and Watson. Honestly, it's one of my favorite tropes, I guess. It's been so done that I think we can call it a trope by now, that kind of Sherlock-Watson dynamic. This might be one of the most anticlimactic Sherlock and Watson retellings ever. I went in expecting YA, and it's definitely giving YA, but all the parts about Sherlock that make him so fascinating are not showing here. All the things that make Watson so enjoyable are not a thing in this book. If anything, Sherlock is annoying, and Watson is significantly more annoying. She's just hot and cold all the time, and you never know what to expect from her, but not in a good way. Just kind of like a, who are you? I'm so uninvested in the mystery that I feel like when the killer is revealed, I'm gonna be like, okay, and move on. Like, I'm not gonna care. So I think I'm gonna make myself like a cocoa or like something fun from my coffee bar. It's a little late for coffee. It's actually 4 p.m. right now, which is my coffee cutoff time.
I have officially finished Jacoby, and let me tell you, there was some supplemental material, but I'm just ready for it to be over, so we read the canon book, and that's all that matters. So let's bring out the chart. Book J, Jacoby. I'm gonna say 2.5 stars, so technically 3 stars. I don't think there was anything really unique about this book. Like, nothing about it felt original. I guess the fact that there was like a supernatural Sherlock and Watson, but here's the thing. I feel like the supernatural bits actually did more harm than good. Because instead of the author having to work hard to like create a mystery, it felt like she was just writing a basic mystery, or he. Actually, I think a man wrote this. Yeah, William's a dude. Okay. Instead of writing like an original mystery from start to finish, he wrote a good mystery, but then gave it a supernatural explanation, which felt kind of like a cop-out. So let's move on to book K. I know for a fact is going to feel like torture putting myself through reading this, but I feel like it's a canon event that everyone went through, and now it's my turn. I'm definitely too old to experience this canon event, but we're gonna do it anyways. For book K, I will be reading none other than The Kissing Booth. But here's the thing. I never watched the movie. I know nothing about this except for the fact that she like has a crush on her best friend's brother. I don't understand why that needs a whole dramatized book. Now, I'm not expecting for this book to be good. I'm expecting to have a good time because it's not good. I feel like it's kind of like trashy reality television. Like, you don't watch it because you're expecting creative artistry. You watch it because sometimes you just need like junky entertainment. So I'm going in expecting junky entertainment, and let's hope that I'm not disappointed.
Why is this one of the tackiest books I have ever read? And nothing could have prepared me. Like, what? I'm sorry. I don't know where to begin. This is not what high school's like. Also, the fact that she's so drop dead gorgeous that literally every single guy wants to date her, like, okay. I feel like this is something a 13-year-old girl writes for Wattpad under a pseudonym. I'm not gonna lie though, I am very entertained. Like, I don't hate it. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this is like good literature or anything. It's so bad that I'm actually enjoying it. Are you picking up the drift? Yeah, so we're gonna take a break from this before my brain rots, and I'm gonna make muffins, and you know what, let's just do a next 24 hours montage, and I'll see you tomorrow at 5 p.m. I did my baking and I read, and then I actually woke up this morning, and instead of running, I read a little bit more because it was raining, and I officially just clocked out of work. Me and Soka are hanging out post-dinner, and we're ready to finish Kissing Booth. Is that how they kiss at the kissing booth? They go, mwah. Mwah. Oh, thank you. That was lovely. Thank you. In all seriousness, because I do want to finish this book and watch the movie tonight and get to bed at a reasonable time, we are going to pick up where I left off, which is chapter 21. A couple thoughts that I've had just from the last bit, like, where are the parents in all of this? Like, I get parents have gotten involved and there are actual parents in the books, but like, parents just let their children live like this? Like, her dad is just chill with her going to parties and drinking. So good, make up your mind. Where do you want to be? Right there? You want to be right there. Of course. I just want to see how this train wreck ends. By all means, let's just pick up and get reading, because I am ready for this book to be over, if I'm being totally honest. I have a lot of issues with the friendship. It is crazy codependent. Like, I cannot stress that enough. Second of all, what were actually the high stakes in this book? I'm not really quite sure, but I must say, I then logged on to Netflix and watched the movie, and I was pleasantly surprised. There were some times where I was cringing so bad that it was actually painful and I was getting third-hand embarrassment, but there were also some times where I was totally eating it up. They made a lot of changes to the movie from the book that I did really appreciate. For example, they actually gave stakes to the situation. And also, I actually really liked Elle's dad in the movie. Like, he seems like actually a solid dad, whereas in the books, it's like, you're not parenting. I feel like the movie itself had a bigger conflict and a better resolution than the actual book did. Do I still think it was really tacky and corny and cheesy? 100%. Like, at the beginning, I was cringing really bad, and at the end, I was annoyed, but there was this middle part, I just couldn't stop smiling, because it was, like, kind of cute. Even though totally a toxic and unhealthy relationship, I just feel like the montage was really precious. And if you've seen it before, you know what I mean. If you haven't, that's not spoiling anything. There you go. Wouldn't necessarily recommend the book, but the movie's actually not horrible if you haven't already watched it. So let's pull up the chart and let's put Kissing Booth for book K. I just genuinely had a good time. Like, when it comes to how good the book actually is, it's definitely a 2-star, but honestly, I was actually pretty engaged and actually enjoyed myself while I was reading. So for enjoyability, I'm gonna give it another star and make it 3. I must say I'm a little scared because we have had a lot of low stars in the alphabet challenge recently, and we started off really strong. So I would like for books L, M, N, P, and forward to just be 5 stars. Is that so much to ask? for? I don't think so.
Welcome to another episode of Ruby Jean Reads. I'm Ruby Jean, and I love to read. This is the next episode of the ABC Reading Challenge, and I am beyond excited because today we're going to be reading books L and M. Book L is Legend by Marie Lu. Now listen here. For some of you, this may seem random. If you have been here for the past 4 years of my channel, you probably have heard me talk about this book before. Fun fact, this is actually the first book in a trilogy, and it was my favorite book in middle school. Mind you, this was also when I was reading Divergent and Hunger Games and all of that, and this was still my favorite even next to those books. Here's the problem though. As an adult, I decided to read a bunch of other Marie Lu books. Unfortunately, I have not only not loved, but very strongly disliked majority of them. So now I'm scared, and I'm wondering, are these books just really special? Or was it just because I was in middle school? Now let me just pitch this book to you so you can understand how amazing of a plot this is. If you've ever seen the movie Les Miserables, if you will, there are two people in there called Javert and Jean Valjean. I'm not going to get too deep into this, so forgive me if you're like a Les Mis fanatic and I don't do it justice. But Javert is a general and Jean Valjean is a criminal, or at least Javert believes so. Javert basically spends years hunting down Jean Valjean. And they also kind of go through this thing where it's like, oh wait, are you actually a bad person? Or do you have reasons for doing what you are doing? Like, are you a Robin Hood, if you will? So the Legend trilogy is quite literally a retelling of Javert and Jean Valjean, but Javert is a girl and Jean Valjean is the very handsome, daring, Robin Hood-esque man. And when I tell you, these books had me in an absolute chokehold. I will say, as much as I remember the overall plot, I don't actually remember the specifics of this book. So it has been long enough that I am gonna get to relive this series, which I'm really excited about. So now, before we begin, I'm just gonna tell you that we're gonna do things a little bit differently to kick off this episode with day 13 of my Subscribers is Seconds challenge. If you're not familiar with what that challenge is, it's pretty simple. Day 13 of me reading as many seconds as I have subscribers on my booktube channel. I currently have 3,231 subscribers, which means that today I'm reading for 53 minutes and 51 seconds. Today I'm reading Legend by Marie Lu, and it's pretty simple. I just record myself reading the book for a period of time, and then once it's done, I go to the computer, I edit it, and I post it to all my social medias. Which, by the way, if you're not following me on TikTok or YouTube, you definitely should.
Alright, so I've officially posted that reel to all of my social medias, so now we can finally talk about Legend. I am so relieved and so happy to say that this book is just as fun and just as interesting as I remember. It is dual POV between, obviously, the girl who's working for the government and then the boy who is kind of our Robin Hood of sorts. Something I don't think I mentioned either, because I don't want you to get it twisted when I say Les Mis, you start thinking of olden days. This is very much like a dystopian book. If you want to kind of relive your Hunger Games, Maze Runner, Divergent, and all of those days, this is a really good way to go. I wouldn't necessarily say Hunger Games. It was more just around that era for me, but plot-wise, they're not similar at all. But I would say it is pretty close to Divergent in the way that once you hit a certain age, there's a testing, and that testing, instead of saying where you are in the community, it says where you are in the hierarchy of society. It's very much like a futuristic post-Civil War type deal, and there's the Republic and then there's the colonies, and so this takes place in the Republic. I absolutely love how plot-driven these books are. It's also crazy fast-paced. I'm on page 100, so I've been reading for about an hour, give or take a couple minutes, and I'm already a third of the way through the book. I say it's very plot driven in the way that you get the details as you go through the plot. It's not like we're gonna spend 50 pages describing what the main girl looks like and what her personality is and why she is the way she is. We figure that out as the plot develops, and I really like that kind of writing. You also don't get their entire life story in the first chapter. You get a little bit more and more and more about them as the chapters go on, along with the plot. It's just good writing, frankly. So someone please tell me why I don't like any of her other books. I hate saying that. I don't like to be negative. It's wild to me how much this trilogy meant to me growing up, but then for some reason, every single other book that I have read by this author, I haven't read them all, so I'll give that disclaimer right now, but some of the other ones that I've read, I just did not like. We're talking, I've even give some of them 1 stars on Goodreads. Like, that's how much I did not enjoy them, almost DNF'd them. And they had amazing plots. So like the premise was amazing, just the execution was not good. So I'm not really sure what happened with this trilogy and why it turned out so amazing, but all I know is that I am here for it. I'm loving it. And after such an insane week of work, this book is like revitalizing me. Speaking of though, I probably should go to bed at a reasonable time. It is already 9:22 and I usually go to bed around 10. So I'm gonna take my makeup off and like get ready for bed and curl up in bed. And then I'm probably just gonna read until I'm tired, or if it's like 10:30. Guys, it's Friday night and I'm a crazy girl. I might stay up till 10:30 to read a book. What can I say? I'm a wild child. You can't tame me. That's all I gotta say.
Lonely nights talking the pixels. I don't go out, don't intermix with the crowd, and I wonder why I'm sitting all alone, staring at my phone.
Good morning. It's the next day. Let's just say I think I stopped at like the perfect part of the book to stop. It was literally like right as the big conflict came up. So I am ready to just finish up Legend this morning. I'm not gonna really say much more because there's not really much to say yet that I didn't say yesterday. So I'm just gonna, I didn't have a bookmark by my bed last night, so D2 pen it was. I'm quite literally exactly halfway through the book. So I'm just gonna crank out the rest of the book this morning and then we can add it to the chart.
No, I just want a connection. Is that so hard to ask for? I just want something that's real, that's alive. Don't want no white noise on the
I must say that rereading this book for this challenge was honestly one of the best decisions I have made in a while, because I thoroughly enjoyed that experience, and I'm happy to say that I don't actually remember anything of the plot that happens after book 1. Like, I remembered for the most part everything that happened in book 1, but I don't actually remember what happens next. So the next book in the series is actually Prodigy. That one right there. Also, don't look at my bookshelf. I'm in the middle of rearranging it. That's very rude of you. I'm very insecure about my undecorated, chaotic bookshelf, so don't look at that. But I'm very excited to hopefully read Prodigy for book P. But I will say I have a couple other books that start with the letter P that I'm looking at right now, so I can't commit to that yet. One of you also asked me to start sharing the books that almost were read for each letter, so almost like the honorable mentions, if you will. So let's take a second and talk about the honorable mentions for letter L. The first one was Legendborn. I did really want to read this book. It does seem really interesting to me, but honestly it just came down to yesterday when I clocked out of work on Friday. I was deciding between Legend and Legendborn, and I have been dying to reread Legend for probably 2+ years now, so it just felt like the right time. So the other L book that I almost read, I actually decided that because it's the first book in a series that most everyone has read before but me, I'm going to do a spoiler read with me vlog just of reading that entire series. You'll have to just stick around and subscribe, I guess, if you want to know what the other book L was. Before we move on to book M, let's add book L to the ABC reading chart. Legend, I'm just going to go ahead and give this 5 stars. It's not necessarily a 5-star book now. If today was my first time reading it, it probably would have been more like 4 stars. Honestly, reading this book today meant so much to me that I can't justify giving it anything below 5 stars. Now for book M, let's actually start with the honorable mentions. I almost read one of the Magnolia Parks books. I've not read these before, but I know everyone's going crazy about them, so I almost read those, but I decided not to. I believe that was the only honorable mention that I was considering. If I was ever considering a third book, it was definitely like way long ago, but for the longest time it was between Magnolia Parks and The Ministry of Time. Now, here's all I know about this book. It is a love story that includes time travel. I know that Haley Pham is obsessed with it. She's been posting about it a lot, but here's the tricky thing. Haley Pham book recommendations are 100% a hit or a miss for me. I don't know if you guys remember, it was, I think, at the beginning of this past year, but there was a trend going around where booktubers would read another booktuber's 5-star reads. I actually started recording one where I was reading Haley Pham's 5-star reads. The thing is, I got 3 books in and I got into the worst book slump of my life, and I never finished filming that, and that video never saw the light of day. And that's because her book recommendations for me have either been a 5-star or a 1-star / DNF. I'm really hoping that this one's gonna be one of those 5-star ones. I do really like creative takes on romances. I think I'm kind of hitting a place right now where I really don't like just modern romance books. I don't feel like modern romance books actually have real conflict these days. I like when the conflict in a relationship comes from outside of the relationship, because if a couple can work through something insanely hard together, then that says a lot about the strength of your relationship. Whereas if there's a couple that likes each other, but then one of them has this flaw and the other person can't get past it, and then they fight about it, and 95% of the time both of the people in the relationship are severely in the wrong, and then they decide at the end that they love each other more than that conflict, and they decide to stay together. And I feel like every time I read those books, I'm like, okay, is this relationship sustainable, or do you guys just like each other? I'm not trying to give relationship advice by any means, but I think that's why I'm excited about this book, because I do enjoy a really good romance in a book, but I need the conflict to be something else other than one of the individuals in the relationship has a weird quirk. So I'm really hoping this is like a we love each other, but time is trying to keep us apart, or something along those lines. I'm just really excited for it. It seems different, and I need different. Caitlin is going to be coming over at 6, so that means I have 7 hours to read this book and clean my house and make cookies. I think we can do it. I'm going to move this reading party to the couch because my dog is losing her mind that she can't snuggle with me when I'm up on my desk chair.
I wanna turn my phone off, but that's where all my friends are. What do I do? Why is it so hard to find someone new so far away? All the days
Although I've technically only read the first 2 chapters of the book, the chapters are very long, and I believe there's only like 10 chapters in the book. So here's kind of where I'm at. No sense of romance whatsoever. If this book turned into a romance, it would feel very forced and odd. Like, nothing about this book is giving romance. It's giving extremely political. I don't necessarily want to comment on the political aspects of this book because I don't understand the political state of London. All I know about the United Kingdom is what I've watched from The Crown. Have I raised an eyebrow or two per se at some of the more like politically themed things said? Yes. Do I feel educated enough to comment on them? Absolutely not. So let me give you a spoiler-free pitch as to what all this book contains as of right now. So basically, the government of the United Kingdom has a super secret confidential branch called the Ministry of Time. They have discovered the concept and science of time travel, but they are not actively time traveling. So this is kind of in the stage where they're still trying to figure out how to do it safely and well. So there's an experiment that our main character that we follow is a part of. They assign, how do I explain this without sounding like a crazy person? They have certain people within the government who are assigned to be bridges. Then they have a team that goes and finds people from history who are about to die. They basically remove them from the situation. They're not like taking them from a life, but there's also some like ethical questioning going on by the main character of like, is this necessarily ethical? But they're finding people who in history are known to die in a given moment, and so they go and they snatch that person up from that era, I believe is the words that they're using, before that person would have died there, so it doesn't necessarily affect the future. But they bring them to modern day United Kingdom, which obviously once you start dealing with time travel, the term modern day is also very subjective, so just bear with me. So they pulled multiple people, I don't remember the exact amount of people, from a long range of eras. Our main girl is given a guy who was on a ship during an expedition where his entire ship died, but the Ministry of Time traveled to his location and pulled them into the current time. And basically they did that to a bunch of other people, and their goal is to find out if time travel has a negative effect on the human being. Our main character is a bridge in the Ministry of Time. So basically she was assigned a person, the guy who was on an expedition when him and his whole crew died, and her job is to, for the next year of him being pulled from his time zone, help him acclimate to the current time zone. That is all I can say so far. That is all that has really happened, and that's not really a spoiler. That's literally just the premise of the book. Do I hate that it took this long to really get the premise of the book? Yes. Do I also think it was important that the author took that much time and care to explain the plot? Yes. So I'm kind of like in between. The book is really slow per se, but it's because the author is trying to lay out their concept of time travel with care, which I do appreciate. I feel like Marvel kind of like ruined time travel for me, but I will say this book is kind of making me go, oh, okay, like I'm following, actually. The vibes aren't what I was hoping for. I really do think I just got my hopes up for a time-traveling romance. I wasn't expecting this to be a time-traveling book where we stayed in the modern age. That, I think, is what I'm finding the most disappointing. I was hoping to actually experience a book where we were going to different time zones. I'm reading this a lot slower, too, because it's not as fast-paced. It's very detail-oriented, and I keep finding myself like reading a paragraph maybe too quickly and then having to reread it because I didn't like truly process it. So the book definitely requires more like mental capacity to like process what's being said. The book makes you think, and I do enjoy that. I think there's a time for fluffy books and there's a time for books that make you really think. This one's definitely making me think.
So I did read a good bit more of the book before getting ready for our fun little movie night. Caitlin and I had a great time poorly decorating some cookies and watching Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. And then this morning happened. As you can see, I'm in bed and I look a little worse for wear. I woke up this morning quite ill. I did end up sleeping in a ton and live streaming church, and now it is the afternoon. It's about 3 p.m. I have just been summoning the courage to, 1, show up on camera looking ill, 2, finish this book. So I did make it to chapter 8, and I'm about 70% of the way through. And when I tell you, quite literally nothing has happened in this book. Like, the plot that I told you at the beginning, which was the premise that they made clear in chapter 1 and 2, that's all that happened. Like, realistically, a couple things have happened here and there that make it somewhat interesting, but not to justify how much of this book I've actually read. So here's what I did. I went on Goodreads, and I did not read any spoilers, but I did read some of the positive and negative reviews. What I found astonishing was that there was 2 that I found 5-star reviews that literally said, nothing happens the first 70% of the book, but the last 30% makes this a 5-star read. That is a very loaded statement. I'm officially at the point where they say that everything picks up like crazy. I have absolutely no clue what could possibly happen to save this book, because in my opinion, this book cannot be saved. I will say there definitely is now a romantic plot. Here's what I have to say about that. It feels like this book had no romance in it at all for the first draft, and then an editor said,
You should add some romance.
And instead of working it through the whole book, the author decided to just set aside 1 chapter and all of a sudden create a romance plotline out of nowhere. So it felt very random. It felt very disconnected from the rest of the plot as well. And also, I have avoided saying this because I didn't want to sound crazy. I don't know the main character's name. And it's not because of my poor attention span. I thought maybe that's what it was. I was like, am I seriously like not enjoying this book that much that I don't know the main character's name? It's never stated. I saw a couple Goodreads comments where they literally took an entire star away because there's no name for our female main character, which is crazy because all of the people that they have pulled from the past timelines who are now in the present day England per se, they have 2 names. So it's been really hard to keep up with who is who. Like, they call them by their actual names, but then they also call them by the last 2 digits of the year they were pulled from. So like, they'll call someone 47, they'll call someone else 83. Why do all the other characters have 2 names, but we couldn't think of a single name for the main character? Just a thought. Well, I'll tell you guys right now, when I'm sick, I do not have the bandwidth to be nice, so I'm gonna be very brutal.
reading this book, if the ending of this book is not entirely bonkers and totally gonna like make me reconsider certain aspects of life, I don't see how this book can be more than 3 stars. Honestly, right now, it's a 2-star book. The fact that some people are saying that it was a horrible book until the last 30%, then they gave it 5 stars, that has to be a pretty bonkers ending. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Lonely nights talking the pixels. I don't go out, don't intermix with the crowd, and I wonder why I'm sitting all alone, staring at my phone. No, I just want a connection. Is that so hard to ask for? I just want something that's real, that's alive. Don't want no white noise on the other line. I just want a connection. Is that so?
Did this book drastically change in the last 3 chapters? Absolutely. For the better necessarily? No. Let's pull up the reading chart. I'm just gonna say off the bat, this was a 2-star book. Did I want to give it 1 star? Yes. Am I giving it a 2nd star because I cannot deny the fact that this author actually has a really good writing style? Absolutely. Her writing style was very fun and very interesting. I like how she assumed a level of intelligence in the reader. She didn't have to spell everything out for you. She did leave a lot of mystery in order for you to kind of put the pieces together yourself. And I do think that is a very stylistic, very challenging type of writing. So I do think that this author did showcase some really good writing skills. However, the plot was just not worth it. Like, it was a cool concept, but the execution was so boring. Like, I don't know how such an amazing and cool concept ended up being delivered in such a boring way. I just kept finding myself reading the plot twist and being like,
Okay, is that all?
and I don't think I'm just being this mean because I'm sick. I genuinely don't understand why people were saying like, oh, the last 30% of this book makes it a 5-star read. Sure, there was some like creative plot twists here and there, but at the same time, like they weren't that amazing. I think there were only like 1 or 2 plot twists that I read where I was like, okay, cool. Like that was a creative twist, but it wasn't earth-shattering. It wasn't... You feel? Welcome to the 7th episode of the ABC Reading Challenge. I'm Ruby Jean, and I like to read. We're going to be starting with book N today. Let's start with the runner-up. Unfortunately, today we will not be reading Nothing Like the Movies. I really wanted to get my hands on this book, but unfortunately I could not get it from the library in time, and I just have had no time to go to Barnes & Noble's recently. We will have to go soon and do like a whole bookish haul, but for right now, we're stuck with the library books. I will read this one as soon as it's available to me, but unfortunately, it's just not ready in time. What is ready, however, is The No-Show by Bethany O'Leary. I believe this is a rom-com that takes place around Valentine's Day and a guy who stands up multiple dates. That's all I really know. That could also be a very inaccurate description of what this book is. I have been severely disappointed by a ton of the modern rom-coms that I've read recently, so I really hope this one changes my mind. At least I'm switching up authors. I do not believe I've read a Beth O'Leary book before. Maybe I'll like her writing style. I just clocked out of work. It is 5 p.m. and I might have plans at 7. I haven't decided yet, so let's just start this book.
But it's better for my mental health. I do not like anybody here, so why do I care? I tell myself that I just need to have someone right beside.
I got a good chunk of reading in last night before going to a coffee shop with some friends, where I also did a little bit more reading before trivia night. It was my first ever time doing trivia, and we lost really badly, but it was still pretty fun. Then this morning, I did clock into work. It is Friday, so I was able to knock stuff out till 5 p.m. I did do a little bit of reading on my lunch, but we're officially after hours. It is officially the weekend, and I'm ready to keep reading. I did hop on camera for a second and forgot that I had left a bunch of dry shampoo on my head to soak in, and you can still technically kind of see it, but we're just going to ignore that. I am just about 50% of the way through The No-Show, and I have a lot of thoughts. Here is your spoiler-free pitch, if you will. This book is in 3 different POVs of 3 different women. They all fit like a stereotype, like almost comedically, but I also do think in this case, I kind of prefer it because it could get really confusing if these three girls were not drastically different. You have the boss babe life coach, the timid and introverted reader, and then you have the super tomboy chica. All the girls are great. Some I love more than others. But that's not what this is about. This is about what these three girls have in common. The boss babe life coach is in a casual relationship. Introverted girl is in sort of a friends to lovers slow burn kind of vibe. And then the third girl, our tomboy, who, okay, yeah, she's my favorite in case you couldn't tell, but she is in a committed relationship with her boyfriend. What they all have in common, you might ask? The three men that they are all in this romantic or semi-romantic relationship with are all the same man. They don't know that he is all the same man. We're finally getting to a point in the book where the girls are kind of starting to figure it out. Now, here's what's crazy to me. I think this man is trash. Like, I'm reading this book and I'm like, none of these three girls deserve this. I mean, no one deserves being lied to and cheated on, obviously. This guy is just the absolute worst. None of these girls deserve it. And would you believe that I have, by every single person that has recommended this book, has told me that in the end, you won't be mad at the guy. Can't even fathom a plot line or a plot twist that can get me to that conclusion. This man is slimy. He is crusty. He is the definition of a red flag. He's also one of those guys that's like perfect on paper, but because you know the backstory, you're like, it makes it so much worse. I do not foresee any sort of heart change in me towards this man. I'd be very interested to see if the author could do that. But you know what? It's Friday. I clocked out of work. I just watched one of my videos go live at 5 p.m. on a Friday because that's when I post videos. And I've got nothing left to do tonight but to read. We're gonna chill here, we're gonna eat some dinner, and we are gonna finish this book, and I'll give spoiler-free final reviews.
Nights talking the pixels, I don't go out, don't intermix with the crowd, and I wonder why I'm sitting all alone, staring at my phone, or I just want a connection.
I fear I spoke too soon. Hear me out. You just need to read the book. I can't spoil it. Let me just say, shortly after we spoke, there was a hint towards one of the plot twists and I predicted it. So when it came, I was like, okay, does it explain some things? Yeah. Does it justify any actions? Absolutely not. But then I kept reading and there was a second plot twist that totally threw me off my rocker. And when I tell you, it entirely changed my mind about everything that happened in this book. And truly, I think that is a skill for an author to be able to do that. Wow, let's pull up the chart, I guess. The no-show. I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I'm very surprised about this. It's definitely not a 5-star. It definitely didn't like rock my world or change my life. That was an amazing book. That was really good writing. It was fast-paced. Somehow there were characters in the book that I didn't like, but I was still rooting for them because the author wanted me to. I also think that is a skill. Honestly, I cannot say enough positive things about this book, but obviously I'm not gonna spoil anything because this is a spoiler-free video. Wow, I'm gonna be thinking about that book for a little bit. That was really good. All right, now on to book O, and let's just say book O might have had the most honorable mentions of any other letter. Where to begin? Least considered, The Office Buddies or The Office Friends. It's the one like behind the scenes of The Office where the actresses who play Pam and Angela like write a book together about what it was like filming on The Office. I did want to read that, but at the same time, I'm not really feeling in the mood for like that style, so I decided no. Up until yesterday, I was 100% convinced that I was going to be reading One True Loves. I'm actually really sad I'm not going to be reading this today, because what happened was I got the ebook on Libby and I was really excited to start reading it today, and I thought maybe we could watch the movie. I've been waiting to watch the movie for when I read the book, and I was like, this is the perfect opportunity, right? I don't know how it happened. I thought I was returning one book on Libby, but I accidentally returned One True Loves. I went to immediately get it back and hit borrow again, but someone else was in line, so I now have to wait
to get that book back. Then the next runner-up of what I almost read today is On a Night Like This by Lindsay Kelk. Honestly, this just had a lot of recommendations by other authors. I thought it sounded good. The vibes sounded really fun. And the main reason why I decided not to read it was because I know I'm not the biggest fan of modern romances, and I didn't want to read modern romances back to back. That leads me to the book that I did choose, and I'm actually kind of regretting picking it. Not because I don't think it's going to be great, but because of the genre. It is spooky season, it is October, and I have never read a horror book. October Roses, a short horror book. And when I say short, I mean it is like 100 pages or less. This is the cover. It's low-key kind of scary. It only has 33 ratings. I'm already actually really scared. Why am I doing this to myself? And I did check to see what the trigger warnings were, and all I saw was that it was like violence. I'm scared. Oh, just kidding. I don't think I want to read this. I just read a review and they bring up a topic apparently that this book surrounds, and I don't want to read about that. So change of plans. We're not reading October Roses. In a lovely turn of events, we are going to be reading On a Night Like This. You know, I'm very relieved because I'm currently home alone and it's nighttime, and that would have been horrifying. So maybe it's for the best. Okay, as for what I know about this book, literally nothing. I just know that other really popular romance authors, modern romance authors, have reviewed this book and said it's amazing. Let's just jump forward to tomorrow because I have so much to say and not much time to say it. I got to about 50% of the way through this book, and when I tell you, nothing could have prepared me. I am so glad that I made the last second switch to read this book because it is like so fun. I feel like it's every young girl's dream, basically. This girl, she's living a really mundane life with honestly a really sucky fiance. She's kind of at this point where she's just like accepting life as it's being thrown at her, and she has a friend encourage her to like, you know, just make something happen in her life, you know, take life by the horns and just go for it. Sure enough, she's like a temp, so basically she never works at one job for a long period of time, and she has an agency that basically has her filling temporary positions here and there, and she does a lot of executive assistant-ing. There's an offer to be a personal assistant, and the agency's like, you are not going to want to turn this down, you're the perfect candidate, just take it. And she's like, okay, I guess I will. Obviously her fiance's really upset because he doesn't like when she travels for work, but she's like, it's just 5 days, you'll be fine. So she leaves and she gets to be the personal assistant for, I'm guessing, this book's universe equivalent to Taylor Swift. And so it's honestly such a fun plot, and she basically has to be Juliet, which is their version of Taylor Swift, but she gets to be Juliet's personal assistant for 5 days for this big event. It's basically a giant charity event. Everyone wants to go. There's only 1,000 seats and it's like 50 grand per ticket. It's this big thing. Anyone who's anyone is there, pretty much. And so she gets to go as like the assistant. Anything after that I feel like is going to be a spoiler, so I will not say anything more. But when I tell you, it is so much fun. And you see this girl who's had a really mundane life and has just kind of let life come to her and not really be happy with it, but just kind of settle. And now all of a sudden she gets thrown into this really glamorous life and she's learning how to just enjoy life. And it's so fun. Like, there's something just so therapeutic about reading that. It's kind of reading like a Cinderella retelling. Like, that is the most I will say, but it kind of has like a Cinderella vibe. And I'm also happy to say that I'm halfway through and there hasn't been any romance. It's just about a girl learning to embrace what life's throwing at her. And I really do like that concept. I do think it's really, really fun. So 100% recommend this book, even though I haven't finished it yet. I'm on my way to a coffee shop with Caitlin, and I plan to read and hopefully finish the book while I'm there. That being said, if I finish that book, I'm just going to jump right into book P while at the coffee shop. So let's talk right now about my honorable mentions and the 2 P books I might be reading today. And yes, you heard me right. I also haven't really decided yet what book P is. And hopefully I'll be picking it up in like an hour. The first runner-up that a lot of people suggested, and when I tell you I've not had any books yet suggested more than once, I had this specific book series recommended I think 3 times. People really wanted me to read the Percy Jackson series. Listen, I also want to read the Percy Jackson series, and someone actually bought me the Percy Jackson series from my bookish Amazon wishlist, which is actually linked down below if you guys want to check it out. But someone bought that and sent that to me, and I am so excited that it's
actually going to get its whole vlog because I have never read Percy Jackson before. And so I think it'd be really fun to do like a spoiler reading Percy Jackson for the first time video for you guys. Also just for me to kind of, you know, track this. Now down to the 2 books that it is technically still in between. I would love to, and it is my first choice, but I do not have it from the library yet. I am first in line, which means the second the person who currently has it returns it, it's mine. I have been next in line for a week now, so it is highly possible I'm gonna get this book today, and that is People We Meet on Vacation. I have been dying to read this book. I don't know what's up with me and the modern romances, even though I don't love them recently, but I have been dying to read this book, especially now that it's turning into a movie with 2 really iconic new actors and actresses right now. So I really, really want to read People We Meet on Vacation. But of course, if I do not get People We Meet on Vacation very soon, then I'm just going to be reading Prodigy, which is book 2 in the Legend trilogy. If you watched my last episode, I actually did read Legend in that one, and it was so fun and therapeutic, and I really do miss this trilogy. I do pitch it and talk a lot more about that series in that other episode, so I would highly recommend that one if you haven't seen it yet. I'm going to get packed up and ready to go. And then we can finally finish on a night like this, which I think it's going to be 4 stars, unless something crazy happens that I hate. It's most likely going to be a 4-star book.
Lonely nights talking the pixels. I don't go out, don't intermix with the crowd, and I wonder why I'm sitting all alone, staring at my phone. Or I just want a connection. Is that so?
I am back from the coffee shop and I've actually undergone a bit of a costume change. We'll get there in a second. But I did finish book O. I already forget the title of it, but we're going to add it to the reading chart. This was such a good book before romance actually played a part. Like the first half of the book, no romance was involved whatsoever. And then everything about the romance just rubbed me the wrong way, especially the fact that I felt like the main girl character totally changed when the guy was involved. So yeah, I will say, however, I did like the ending despite everything that happened in the middle of like the 50 to 90% mark of the book. I did appreciate the ending. However, it's still going to be 3 stars for me. You could technically say 3.5, but I feel like the longer I sit on this book, the more like a 3 it's going to be. Now, as for the costume change, as Caitlin and Izzy and I were driving back to our homes, we realized it's an amazing day, so we're all gonna go on a walk together. So I am actually waiting for them right now to come pick me up, so I'm gonna get started on Prodigy. Whenever I get back, I'd really like to do another subscribers as second video. I think that'd be really cool, and I'm ready to kickstart this book. After a fun little walk on the trail, I then recorded my entire subscribers to seconds, day 15. Day 15 of me reading as many seconds as I have subscribers on my booktube channel. I currently have 3,362 subscribers, which means today we're reading for 56 minutes and 2 seconds. Then sat down at the computer for a bit to edit it and put it together. Unfortunately, People We Meet on Vacation was not available, so I did go ahead and start with Prodigy, and I'm currently on page 128. Now, here's the tricky thing. I can't actually pitch this book to you, even in a spoiler-free way, because realistically, the entire plot of book 2, almost like the repercussions of the plot twist of book 1. So if I were to tell you quite literally anything about book 2, it would tell you how book 1 ends. So I can't do that. I'm not going to do that. But I will say, if you want to relive your Divergent, Maze Runner, like dystopian book era days from when you were younger, but you also want to read something new, I highly recommend the Legend trilogy. I don't think I can recommend it enough. However, in case you couldn't tell by my demeanor, I am feeling a little bit sick. I think this is the 3rd ABC reading challenge now where I have been sick by the end of filming. Maybe that's a sign that I'm pushing myself a little too hard on the weekends, or maybe it's just fall and all the germies are around everywhere, so could be either. However, it is 8:50 p.m. and I have about 200 pages left of this book. I do want to finish it tonight, even if it means staying up a little bit late, so that's what we're gonna do. As I'm reading this book, some of the plot is coming back to me. I do appreciate, though, that I don't remember at all how this book ends, and honestly, the stuff I'm remembering from this book as I read it is stuff that I thought happened in book 3. So now I'm questioning what happens in book 3 too. It's funny how a certain book series can really hold a special place in our heart, even if years down the road we can't tell you a single thing about it. Like, we don't remember anything. We just remember the feeling that book gave us. And honestly, I think that's one of the most happy and iconic and best parts about being a reader. And with that being said, I have officially finished Prodigy by Marie Lu. I will say one thing, the romance is definitely a lot less mature than I remember, which honestly is kind of a given. I feel like that's the case of most books that you loved when you were younger, when you go back to them and you're like, oh, this couple had issues. I definitely do see that, and that's definitely something I did not notice when I was younger. I've absolutely loved the nostalgia of reading this book, so we're gonna add it to the chart, and I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars in Goodreads. It's really like a 4.75 just because the nostalgia was perfect. It was on point. I still think this is an amazing and underestimated book series, but it just doesn't match up to the absolute goodness of the first one. It's still amazing though, so I'm gonna put it in Goodreads as a 4, but know that it's like a 4.99999 book in my heart. Welcome to episode 8 of the ABC Reading Challenge. Today we're reading books Q, R, and S. This is Ruby Jean Reads. I'm Ruby Jean, and I love to read. I also love to make lovely grave mistakes, and that first mistake is going to result in a little bit of a switch up. We are going to read books Q, R, and S today, but we're going to read them a little bit out of order. We're going to be reading book R first because I have the ebook from the library and it returns at 6 a.m. tomorrow, and it is currently 5:30 p.m. the day before it's due. So we have to quite literally read this entire book tonight in one sitting. That book is Ruthless Vows. This should not be a surprise if you watched episode 2 where I read Divine Rivals. I did say I wanted to read book R because I absolutely love Divine Rivals. I believe I gave it 5 stars, but I also said I was really scared to read Ruthless Vows because a lot of people are saying the second book isn't as good as the first. I'm not going to waste much of your time. We're going to get started on this spoiler free, and then we're going to move straight to book Q. And I actually have the craziest, most bonkers yet amazing story about book Q, but we'll get there after we finish book R.
I wanna turn my phone off, but that's where all my friends are. What do I do? Why is it so hard?
I turned on some ambiance music and got started reading Ruthless Vows. Also, of course, while snuggling Soka because she is absolutely cuddly this evening. I'm at 28%, and as of right now, I'm still really into this book. I feel like it's taking a while to pick up though. I have a couple theories of what's gonna go down. I really like the character arcs. I really like the stories. I really like how Rebecca Ross is also playing with certain tropes. It's about 7 p.m. right now. I'm still on track, I think, to finish this book before way too late tonight. But I was getting really hungry, so Sebastian ordered some pizza, so hopefully I can keep cranking this out.
All the days that I used to have someone right beside me, now I can find in my phone screen.
We have officially gravitated towards bed. 1, because it's way past my bedtime, and 2, because we've officially made it to part 4 of this book, which means we have a little over 100 pages left, but that's in the ebook, so realistically I think less than that. So let's just take a minute and talk about this book before I finish it, because I have a lot of thoughts, as always. What's new? I see why people said that this book is not as great as the last one, or maybe it was disappointing, because I think the book definitely shifts gears a ton. The plots are very different, the romance, very different, all of that. But in my opinion, I almost love it. Like, it feels like an actual story. Like, this feels like a genuine part 2 to Divine Rivals. I honestly just think this book is really beautifully written. I will say the second book has been a lot more predictable. Even the first one did feel kind of predictable, but it was still really good. Same thing with this one. Like, it's really good. I kind of have an idea of what's coming next. I have been shocked a couple times. Not to say that this book has been entirely predictable. I've been able to predict some of the plot twists, and also the dramatic reveal for the plot twist at the end of part 3 going into part 4. I didn't feel like it was that dramatic of a reveal. Like, I feel like it was pretty easy to guess that was going to happen next, but maybe that's just me. I'm very interested to see the fallout and everything that happens, and also I have to remind myself that this is not like a series. This is just a duology. So like how this book ends is how the story ends for the characters, and I'm just not ready for that yet. But then again, this book is returning tomorrow morning, so I have no choice but to be ready for it. Me and Sebastian were getting a little bit delirious last night, and I finished this book around 11:30 p.m. We were both dead tired, and honestly, I did need time to kind of process how the book ended, so I decided to sleep on it. Add it to the chart. Ruthless Vows. We're gonna give it 4 stars. Realistically, I think it's 3.5 stars. But I'd rather round up to a 4 than down to a 3 for Goodreads. Not as amazing as the first book. Like, let's just start there. That first book, like, really just hit different. This book, on the other hand, it felt like a really good resolution in part 2 to that book. I will say I was pleasantly surprised considering there was so much negativity around this book. I was expecting to hate it, given what everyone was saying. So I do think I was pleasantly surprised because I went into it with really low expectations. Now let's talk about book Q. When I first decided I was going to do the ABC Reading Challenge Q, I knew exactly what I was going to read for Q. Without a doubt, I was going to be reading Quicksilver. And I actually had the ebook from the e-library until about 2 days ago. For those of you who don't know, on Libby, it's like a library, but for ebooks and audiobooks, and you have to wait in line for your turn to get the book, and then once you have it, you only have it for so many days. Although it's not like a physical library where you can return it a day or two late and just take the fee. They just take the book back. I have 2 different library cards for 2 different states, a library card for North Carolina and a library card for Tennessee. Any book that I get from North Carolina, I have for 21 days. However, any book that I get from Tennessee, I only have for 14. I accepted the book Quicksilver a little early, thinking I had it for 21 days, when in fact I only had it for 14, and I didn't realize that until the day it returned. So I was very heartbroken. I immediately got back in line for the book, and now I'm on a 2-month wait list. So I decided to run to Barnes & Noble's, thinking, you know what, I've been dying to read Quicksilver. Maybe I need to have a copy on my bookshelf. If you already know where this is going, then you know a lot more about this book than I do. Apparently, she only published the book in an ebook, and it blew up on TikTok, and you can only get it in ebook. So I go to Barnes & Noble's asking for it, and the girl I asked, she was like, oh, it's not actually being sold as a physical copy until December. So I'm heartbroken again. I'm like, I don't know what to do. At the time, I was just panicking at a Barnes & Noble's, and I had somewhere to be, okay? It was supposed to be like a run and get the book, pay and get out. I then go to my Goodreads. I'm like, sure enough, I have to have another book that starts with a Q. The next runner-up is the 3 Star Wars books about Queen Padme. I've recently gotten into Star Wars, and Padme is one of my favorite characters, and so I really would have loved to get more backstory about her from these books. Unfortunately, although my Barnes & Noble's has like every Star Wars book in existence, they do not have Padme's. Sure enough, no other Q books are on my TBR. This girl who was working at Barnes & Noble's, I wish I got her name, she did subscribe. So, if you're watching this, hi, please reach out to me and tell me what your name was so I can like email Barnes & Noble's corporate and tell them that you're like the best thing ever, because I tell this girl, this may sound crazy, but I have a booktube channel and I'm doing an ABC reading challenge and I need to read a book that starts with a Q, and I need to get this book like right now. She walked through the Barnes & Noble store with me, pointing out all the Q books that she knew. And we did come across one she said she hadn't read, but she'd heard really good things about. And she told me that if I liked Throne of Glass, I would probably like this book. And she sold me on The Queen's Assassin. I have read the premise of this book. It sounds really, really good. Also, the cover is just stunning. And it's only a duology. So, like, I'm avoiding series for the ABC Reading Challenge, but a duology is fine. Also, I have been dying to read a fantasy book recently, so I'm just so glad that she found me a fantasy book that starts with Q. It's about time, I believe, that I post a subscribers to seconds video, so I think we're gonna start off this book with a subscribers to seconds. Reading a second for every subscriber I have on my booktube channel, day 17. I currently have 3,906 subscribers, which gets us to 1 hour, 5 minutes, and 6 seconds. Premise, 10 out of 10. Plot, 10 out of 10. Writing style, 10 out of 10. The main character, I'm not even gonna give it a number. I'm just gonna spell it out for you. The female main character literally is making me grind my teeth because of how obnoxiously cliche she is in all the wrong ways, but I will say the plot is so much bigger than just the female main character that it's not actually ruining the book for me. Also, I have a ton of theories already, weighing whether or not they're going to be proven or not. I really need to stop like predicting what's going to happen in a book, because usually when it does happen, then I'm no longer surprised, shocked, or able to enjoy it. I do have dinner plans in an hour, so I'm going to see how much more of this I can read before then. We're definitely going to do our best.
Lonely nights talking the pixels. I don't go out, don't intermix with the crowd, and I wonder why I'm sitting all
I woke up early this morning to read some more before clocking into work, read a little bit more in my lunch, then got back to work. And I'm officially clocked out now and ready to finish The Queen's Assassin. I'll apologize also off the bat about the glare on my glasses. My eyes are bothering me, so I'm not going to be switching to contacts. Let's talk about The Queen's Assassin, because I have a ton of thoughts. The main character has somehow gotten more and more annoying throughout the book, and honestly, it's very discouraging and upsetting to see. It's kind of how I'd expect a middle-aged man to write a young girl and not another woman to write a young girl. Her whole personality is that she's super emotional and she can't keep her emotions straight in anything, and because of that she makes a lot of dumb decisions and almost compromises the mission multiple times, and then the guy has to save her in every single situation, and somehow I'm supposed to see that and be empowered by that, because it's definitely reading like it's supposed to be empowering. Another side note, this isn't necessarily a bad thing, I'm definitely not complaining about it, but there is a kingdom called Renovia, and whenever I see that, I am just like belting the national anthem to Genovia. So that's a fun little tidbit for you there. The plot's good. I honestly hate that the female main character is so frustrating, because the plot is amazing. Like, even if she was just a really boring two-dimensional character, I think I would have thoroughly enjoyed this book, because the plot is just good. I'm like 99% convinced I already have predicted what the main plot twist is going to be, so I'll see if I'm right about that, and we'll see if the book ends interestingly enough that I'm excited for book 2.
A connection, is that so? All to ask for, I just want something that's real, that's alive. Don't want no white
A complete 180 of my opinions on this book. Was I 100% right about the plot twist at the end? 100%. I totally predicted it. I've known since chapter 2, so that did not surprise me. What did, however, surprise me, though, was that this book does not have a happy ending. It has a morally complex ending. I love when there's a moral oxymoron, if you will. And this book gave that to me. Also, every complaint I had about this book was actually explained in a reasonable way towards the end, to the point where I'm actually very pumped to pick up the next book. So, you all have been warned. Is the first 3/4 of this book really hard to read? Yeah, like you just kind of got to power through it, but it is so worth it for that last quarter. Like, even with the huge plot twist being predictable, everything that happened as a consequence of the plot twist, I had not predicted. So that was actually really, really cool. Also, I think it's worth noting that the girl who was annoying me the entire time, after the plot twist happened, she completely shifted and changed as a character, and my opinions about her changed as well. So there's that for you. Let's add The Queen's Assassin to the chart. Up until the last 30 pages, I was dead set that this was a 3-star book. But honestly, given that ending, I'm very tempted to give it 4 stars. It's really 3.5, and it really could go either way, and I wouldn't be disappointed with either. It genuinely is just like a 3.5 star. I'm very interested to pick up book 2, which is The Queen's Secret. And also, something that I really enjoy is that they set up the second book so well in the very end. I'm so pleasantly surprised. I'm very thrown by how that book just ended in all the best ways. But now what you're really interested in, which is, what is book S? I still can't believe we're on book S. That's wild. Let's start with the first book that I considered, which was Shatter Me. I have not read this series. I know everyone's obsessed with it, but frankly, I have been debating doing a vlog, just reading the entire Shatter Me series. And I don't want to read the first book now and then wish I hadn't so I could read it for that vlog later. So for that reason, we will not be reading Shatter Me. Then, of course, is Spectacular by Stephanie Garber. Now, this is actually the Caraval trilogy novella, and it's going to be 3.5. So it's going to be what happens after finale. Only issue is it's not out yet. It does come out in October, and originally when I was planning on finishing the series in November, it was what I was going to read without a doubt for S, up until I realized that I would have to be reading before the 22nd. So sadly, we'll not be reading Spectacular. As for what we are reading, and the reason why I chose it is because it is the perfect fall cozy read. Or at least that's what TikTok has been saying. I have to read The Spell Shop. It's supposed to be a cozy, fun, quick read, nice and lighthearted, nice and cozy. I'm going to be starting it first thing tomorrow. Guys, if I have to not watch Dancing with the Stars tomorrow night, I'll sacrifice that so that I can read The Spell Shop. It honestly sounds really fun. All I know about it is that there's a spell shop, and there's a girl who runs it, and she's an introvert, and apparently she's, like, not likable. I guess that's what Goodreads has been saying. Like, she has a fun kind of, like, character arc, if you will. Then there's something about her assistant being a plant. I don't know what to think about that, but maybe I'll totally vibe with it. I only got to do a little bit of reading this morning, but I'm already on chapter 5 of The Spell Shop, which is about 12% of the way through the book, and I already have so much that I just want to say. This book is 110% vibes. Like, if you want cozy fall vibes, pick up this book. I am sucked in. It is currently a cold, rainy day in Tennessee, and I am in an oversized sweater, and I'm ready to brew some tea and curl up on my couch and probably finish the rest of this book in one sitting because I am just ready. I have been waiting all day at work to clock out so that I can read this book. So there's this girl. She's an introvert. Honestly, I think when people on Goodreads were saying she wasn't likable, I think it's just that the villagers in this book don't think she's likable, but in my opinion, she's a totally real character. She just wants to run a bookshop, not talk to people all day, and hang out with her assistant, who is a plant. That was real. I thought that was a joke. It's very real. I must say, though, he is quickly becoming my favorite character. Imagine Elsa owned a bookshop and Olaf was her assistant. Like, that is kind of the dynamic that you get here, and I am eating it up. Absolutely eating it up. Honestly, I haven't read that much, so I can't really speak to it much, but the premise is really, really fun. I must say, I really want to look up fan art because I'm really struggling to imagine the main character. When I first started reading it, I saw Jenna Ortega. They hadn't even described how she looked at all, but just like the way she talked, that kind of like dry, straightforward, no nonsense kind of speak, it reminded me of a lot of the characters that Jenna Ortega has played. So I kind of pictured Jenna Ortega's face, but then they keep saying things like purple freckles and blue hair, and I'm just like, what in the world does this chick look like? Also, can we just take a minute? We never really talked about the cover of this book. That is stunning. There's like a little cat with wings sleeping on the steps. Haven't met that cat yet, but I'm obsessed. Also, there's this thing where she goes back to the village she grew up in. And this is like in the first like 2 chapters, so this isn't spoiling anything. She moves back into the old cottage that she lived at with her parents growing up, and it's been abandoned. And so she has basically this whole montage of like making it a livable cottagecore space again. Honestly, the plot is not there. It is all vibes, no plot. Do I think there's potentially an interesting plot? Yes. It's kind of funny. Every once in a while, the character will throw out like a little plot twist at you, but she'll throw it at you in such a nonchalant way that it's like, wait, what did I just read? It's really fun, honestly. The writing style is also just so easy to read. Like, I'm reading it very quickly. I only had a little bit of time to read this morning, and I felt like I was flying through it. Let's brew some tea and fly through it together.
Something that's real, that's alive. Don't want no phone static, phone static, oh. Phone static, oh. I'm tired of being by myself, but it's better.
Hi, can we talk about the spell shop? I would like to talk about the spell shop. I am on chapter 30 currently, which means I'm about 3/4 of the way through this book. I'm a little confused because what I assumed was the main conflict of the book has already been resolved. So I have no clue what's going to happen for the rest of this book. In my opinion, the book could end in this next chapter, and it would be like a full book from beginning to end. So I don't know if there's going to be another plot twist or if something else is going to come up. I'm not really sure. That's not a negative thing. Maybe. It depends. If nothing happens for the next quarter of the book and it's like, what was the point? Then maybe that'll be an issue. But as of right now, I'm not really concerned. I'm just a little curious. Because who knows? Maybe there's going to be a huge plot twist and there's like a whole new conflict we have to figure out. That could be the case. Let me set one thing straight if you are considering reading this book, which I think you should. I don't care who you are, I think you should read this book. It's very, very good. However, if you want to read this book as like a quick weekend read, if you're doing a reading challenge, or if you want to do the 24-hour reading challenge for whatever reason, if you're trying to read this book quickly in like 1 or 2 or even 3 sittings, don't do it. This book is best enjoyed a couple chapters every morning with a cup of coffee, or if you're a night reader, a couple chapters before bed with some tea. This is not the kind of book that you sprint read. Let me explain. I do the entire plot recaps for A Throne of Glass. Shameless plug, I guess, but I give detailed scene by scene, chapter by chapter of what happens in these books. And it takes a couple hours per book to lay out the plot for you. If I were to do an entire plot episode, giving you a play-by-play of everything that happens in this book, it might be 25 minutes. Nothing's really happening. It's just purely vibes, which I'm here for. The vibes are immaculate. Honestly, I feel like this could be a game, like a cozy game, almost kind of like Sims, you know, like you're the main character, you get your little cabin, and you have to make and sell jam and protect your little spell books, fall in love, and get the people who live on the island to like you by helping them by doing tasks around the island. You know, it just seems like the perfect cozy little video game. If for whatever reason some sort of producer is out there watching this, I doubt it. You need to buy the rights to this. Anywho, I digress. I'm a little sad that I have yet to come across a cat with wings like there is on the cover of the photo. I was really looking forward to meeting a winged cat. Maybe that's going to be the big plot twist of the end, is that there's a winged cat. I wish. But we have talking succulents, we have talking plants, we have mer horses, not to be confused with seahorses or seals. They're actually like mermaid horses. We have... what else do we have? We have centaurs. We have people with horns. We have people with blue hair. We have people with purple freckles. We have people of all colors of the rainbow. And I'm here for it. It is so fun hearing the descriptions of these characters. Honestly, up until I started talking for this recording, I was like, it's a 5-star book. Nothing is happening. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, this is really fun and cozy. I really wish I'd just read this over a series of multiple days over coffee first thing in the morning, because it is definitely like a cozy little book. I could say cozy about 1,000 more times and it wouldn't be enough. I just highly recommend this book if you're looking for a cozy, soft, fluffy read. Now, I am ready to finish this book because the fact that nothing is happening makes me not want to spend hours at a time reading this book. Like, I want to have it in small doses, but at the same time, I need to finish filming this so that I can edit and post it for you guys in 48 hours. So we're gonna finish this book tonight. We have no choice. So we're gonna have another little reading sprint and we'll add it to the chart.
Myself that I just need to have someone right beside me, or else I'm nothing.
I have finally finished Spell Shop. Let's talk about it. Thankfully, the winged cat did come into play. I'm a little disappointed in how not big of a part it played in the plot, considering that it's literally on the cover and I was looking forward to it like the whole book, but that's besides the point. I did, however, read the acknowledgments at the end of the book and I thought it was spot on. The author literally said that she was drinking a cup of hot cocoa and she decided she wanted to write a book that feels the way hot cocoa tastes. And I know that sounds like a really weird analogy, but that's the best way possibly to describe this book. Very cozy, very fun, very enjoyable, not very nutritious, if you will, but no, it was really good. It was really fun. If you are looking for something really chill, then this is a 5-star book. But for me personally, I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars. Let's add it to the reading chart. The Spell Shop, 4-star book. This is mostly because there were way too many tacky moments. Like tacky moments that almost kind of pulled me out of the book and made me cringe really bad. You know, during those really cringy, like Disney musical movies where the acting gets really dramatic and then someone just breaks out in song and you just have that like internal cringe. There were lots of moments in this book like that, and I get that's for some people. Unfortunately, it's not for me. But if you like Hallmark movies and you like that cheesy tackiness, then this book is 100% for you. Welcome back to another episode of Ruby Jean Reads. I'm Ruby Jean, and I like to read. Today for the ABC Reading Challenge, we are going to be reading books T, U, and V. Starting with book T, honestly, it was really just between two books. So there's only one honorable mention, and that's because both of these books were recommended by subscribers. So I was really excited to do a subscriber recommended book, but then I had to choose between two, and that was really hard to do. The first one that unfortunately I will not be reading is, I believe it's called the Thursday Murder Club. It's like a book club where they solve murders or something like that. I've heard it's really cute and it's a fun murder mystery. The other one was also a murder mystery, but it wasn't a part of a series, which to me was really important. Which is why today we're going to be reading Tell Me What Really Happened. I am really excited about this book. I wanted something nice like fall vibes, and I feel like a murder mystery is the way to go. A bunch of friends go into the woods together, and all but one of them comes out, and they're all being really cagey about why. So to me, that sounds totally up my alley. Something just tells me that this is going to be a quick read. So I'm ready to just like read this book in its entirety tonight. Even if I have to stay up late, I'm 100% just like reading this whole book tonight. All right, you guys know the drill. We're officially at that 25-ish% mark of Tell Me What Really Happened, and we still don't know what really happened. I'm just kidding. I know it's going to be the big plot twist at the end, but I'm really enjoying this book. Let's talk about a couple things. First of all, I like to use this portion to give a spoiler-free pitch, if you will, as to what this book is about. First of all, the writing format of this book, I've never read one like it before, so it's been really cool. Every single chapter is a question asked by the interrogator, so this actually takes place after what the book is about has happened. It's 5 friends go into the woods together, and only 4 come back. All 4 of these people are being interrogated about the sequence of events, but what's wild is that you get to hear everything from 4 different perspectives. So it's kind of cool to see how everyone perceived the same moment and how differently everyone perceived it. And then there's definitely some parts where it's like, okay, a bunch of y'all's stories don't line up. So who's lying and why are they lying about that? I get that it can be confusing when you deal with like multiple POVs, especially when you don't necessarily know the characters because it's like your first time reading the book. But the author has a really, really fun way of uniquely portraying every single character with different writing styles. So you have one character that's a lot more anxious, and so she kind of rambles a lot. And then you have another one who's really type A and bossy. You have someone who's very timid and kind of beats around the bush. And then you have the hyper conspiracy theorist. So those are kind of the 4 personalities we're dealing with. And honestly, it's a very interesting dynamic. Also, every time that I think I know how this book is going to end, we get like more information about what happened that night. And so then my theories change. So I'm really excited to see like if I've guessed it up until this point. But then again, I'm only at 25% of the way through. So far, so good. I'm really enjoying it. I feel like we don't know much about the girl who went missing yet, but they're like starting to delve more into it. Like the questions are starting to be more like, tell us about your relationship with her. What did you think when she said this? Like blah, blah, blah. So yeah. Loving this book so far. Is it going to be a 5-star? I think it's too soon to tell. I feel like it has all the potential to be a 5-star. It's really just going to depend on like what happens next. Where to begin? I honestly was 100% sure that I knew how this was going to end. And what's crazy is that I'm only, like 75% of the way through the book. First of all, I'm really tired, which is why I cannot put together a cohesive thought. I predicted the ending and I ended up being right, but there's still 25% of this book left, which means that like something else has to happen. And here's the thing, I have a couple ideas of like what that could be, because there are still like plot holes, I guess, and some things that don't exactly match up. Wow, I'm really loving this book. Honestly, I would be really surprised if I do not give this 5 stars. I'm dead tired and my eyes kind of hurt, and it's just about my bedtime, but I'm determined to finish this book. So I think I'm going to take this book to bed and read in bed until I finish, and then we'll call it a night. I'll tell you what book U is first, don't worry. Guys, what did I just read? Okay, I'm trying to form a coherent thought right now because I'm like delirious. I just want to say this book was amazing, like absolutely sucked in. Here's the issue though, I don't know how I feel about the ending. I don't know if I love it or I hate it. Like, it's one of those things where it was like predictable, but I'm actually really glad it was predictable, because there was a time where I started to get really nervous, like, oh, what if she's gonna do like some super outlandish ending, you know? So like, I'm glad that it was realistic. Like, if you had told me this was based on a true story, I would 110% believe you. Like, I wouldn't even question it. Add it to the reading chart, tell me what really happened. I'm really on the fence between 4 and 5 stars. Here's the thing though, I'm afraid this is gonna be one of those books that I'm like hyper obsessed with now, but like give it a couple months and I'm not gonna think about it a lot. And usually I like to think of 5 stars as books that are gonna sit with me for a really long time. But then there's also a part of me that's like, okay, but the vibes were immaculate and I was reading for vibes. I was going for a good fall read, and oh my goodness, this was a great fall read. Okay, I'm gonna take this out before I get kinks in my hair. Let's just say for now 5 stars, and I think I'll wait a couple days before I put my rating in Goodreads and I'll see if it's still a 5-star. All right, now as for book U. Okay, well, if I was ever considering another book at any point, I guess I didn't write it down on my list, but we're gonna be reading The Unmaking of June Farrow. Or Farrow. All I know is that maybe there's time travel, so I guess I don't know anything. Maybe let's do some research. It's a short book too, which was kind of important to me. I kind of went through a bit of a reading slump, and I was forcing myself to read through reading slumps, and I hope that wasn't too obvious in some of my recent videos, but I was really, really struggling. And I feel like now that I'm rereading the Harry Potter books and I'm on books like 5, 6, and 7 where they get more like adult, I'm like falling in love with reading again, which is really, really good. I feel like I needed that. Oh no way, this takes place in North Carolina. That's where my family's at. That's where I technically was before moving to Tennessee. A woman risks everything to end her family's centuries-old curse, solve her mother's disappearance, and find love in this mesmerizing novel. Are you kidding me? I'm sold. Listen, I want to start this book right now. Are you kidding me? I have to wait, and I do, because here's the thing. I know if I stay up super late reading right now, I'm going to be miserable and no fun for you tomorrow. So let's jump forward to tomorrow. I have some exciting plans for reading the first 25%, which involves brewing some coffee, reading in bed for a little bit, and then going on a walk and reading while I walk. And now I'm officially at the 25-ish% mark, probably a little bit more than that realistically. Honestly, I don't have much to say. Like, I have a lot of thoughts, but I'm not really sure how to articulate them. I'm sad to say things only really just picked up. Like, I only really feel like we just started what the main plot is, and the author spent the first like 20-ish% setting up the book, which typically I wouldn't have an issue with if it was like a series, but because it's one book and it's already like a shorter book, so the fact that so much of it was used to like set things up, kind of tiresome. Although I will say I might change my mind later, because sometimes if the plot is super complex, I can look back and be like, oh, you know what? Like, all that world building made sense. So we'll kind of see how I feel about that later. They were building up this huge plot twist, and yeah, technically it was a big plot twist, but I don't know, for some reason it didn't feel that grandiose to me. However, the plot twist only just happened, and I can tell it's going to change the whole trajectory of the story, so it's just a matter of how that's executed, I guess. am conflicted. I don't know what's going wrong per se, because it's a good plot. It's a very original plot, if you ask me. At least I haven't read any books like this before. It's written well, and the main character isn't annoying. That's not really the situation either. But for some reason, I'm just not connecting with this book. Like, none of the plot twists have actually felt engaging to me. The descriptions don't make me feel transported to this place. I'm not connecting with the main character. I don't know, just something feels like it's missing. I don't know, I just feel like when you talk about family curses and time traveling and romance and all of that, I feel like it should be more exciting. And I guess I'm just surprised on how bland everything is coming across. I am very excited for book V. And I do need an exciting book right now, especially after this. So I am just going to keep reading, crank through this last 25%. And honestly, I really hope that there is like this crazy amazing ending, because I've heard so many good things about this book. And it's kind of funny. I'm almost like gaslighting myself into thinking this book is greater than it is. But in all reality, like, I'm just not vibing with it. And that's fine. That's not a reflection on how good the book is. It's just a reflection on me and the book's compatibility. So do not let anything that I'm saying dissuade you from reading this book. Although I did like the ending of this book, it did not, however, change my thoughts and feelings on this book. So let's add it to the chart, and we're gonna give it 3 stars. The next book, I think, is really going to keep me on my toes. This was also between 2 books. The one that I unfortunately will not be reading is The Veiled Kingdom. But then I was like, you know what? Halloween is a week away. So why would I read anything other than Verity by Colleen Hoover? I'll preface this right now. I don't like Colleen Hoover. I never have. I don't believe I ever will. And I have a lot of reasons for that I don't think I'll get into. However, I've heard so many people say that Verity is amazing. Also, I do not read thriller often. I'm a little horrified. I know nothing about the book. I'm like scared to start this, but I'm also kind of excited. I'm feeling like baking something. So we're gonna make my famous cowboy cookies. And by famous, I just mean that my family loves them and is always asking me to make them when I visit family. But I never actually make these cookies for myself at home. Well, let's make cookies and let's read. So I actually just hit the 30% mark without really realizing I passed the 25% mark, so I'm gonna stop now and we can talk now. If I were not reading this book for a vlog, I would have DNF'd it by now. Everyone is so disturbed. I honestly think this genre is not for me. Like, I love murder mysteries, and I even like a good murder mystery thriller. But like romance thriller, I think this is why I could never even read a dark romance. Like, I don't even want to, because I know I'm gonna hate it. So this book is about a author who writes thriller books. She hasn't really had like her successful book yet, you know, she's still kind of like a struggling author. And then a very famous author in the thriller space is in the middle of a series, but then she gets in a car accident and she's basically, I don't know what the medical term is for it, but she's just kind of like paralyzed and almost in a coma, but I think her eyes are open. Like, she can move her eyes, but she's just not there. Basically, the publishers don't want it to get out how bad her scenario is, and they want to finish the series. So the husband of the thriller author who got in this car accident has agreed to allow another author to finish writing her books. That's where our struggling artist comes into play, and she is selected to be the thriller writer who continues her book series and finishes it. I liked that plot. To me, that sounded really good. But then she has to like go to their like home because her office is like where all of her notes are, where everything that she had in mind for the series. And so she's gonna go to their place for a couple days and really just unpack everything that's in her office to try to find out how to write these next few books. Now, here's the thing. It's getting dark outside. It is pouring rain, and there's actually some thunder and lightning going on. Arguably the best possible real-life ambiance for reading a thriller. But if you're in my situation, where you hate thrillers and you're a scaredy cat, it's actually a very horrible scenario to be in. I'm going to keep cranking through this book, and hopefully it gets
less disturbing. I doubt it, because literally that's the whole point of the genre. I just want to go to sleep. I'm so over this book. Okay, here's the thing. Does it read like a Colleen Hoover book? No, not in the slightest. Y'all were right about that. Turns out, I just don't like anything she writes, despite the genre. Here's the thing. Usually, and if you watch my videos, you know this, I'm pretty good at predicting endings of books, even like the really outlandish endings. For the first time in a very, very long time, I have no inkling whatsoever of what's going to happen. That scares me. So here's the thing. It's late. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. I could technically wake up early and finish this book, but I'm feeling stubborn and I want to finish it. It's a tricky thing because like I hate the book, but it's also interesting at the same time. I can't believe I'm saying that. So maybe it is going to be more like a 3-star. It depends on how it ends. Because like I really am thoroughly not enjoying the book. I wish I'd never read it and I wish I DNF'd it. But you know what? I'm reading it. So might as well just rip off the band-aid per se. I'm ready for this to be done. I'm just so excited that books W and X are going to be light, fluffy, and fun books. This has been a long day, guys. I woke up reading, and I'm finishing the day reading. Listen, I don't know what I was expecting, but that was not it. Oh, wow. Are you concerned about Mommy? Mommy's okay. You want to say hello? Oh. Sweet girl. Chin. Oh, that's a good chin. What? Can you tell Mommy's in distress? Mommy is in distress. Obviously, if you've read the book, you know exactly why I'm freaking out. If you haven't, I'm not going to tell you what it is because this is spoiler free. But there's like the kind of endings that throw you, and then there's the kind of endings that throw you like Hulk throws Loki. Like that was insane. I still hated the book, but that ending was wild. It has been a lot of reading over the last day and a half, and I think I need to take like a week-long break from reading. Welcome to the second to last episode of the ABC Reading Challenge. This is Ruby Jean Reads. I'm Ruby Jean, and I love to read. Today we're going to be reading books W and book X, and I just got back from Barnes & Noble's with book W, which is Wisteria. This is the third and final book. It quite literally just came out of the Belladonna trilogy. I actually did read Belladonna and Foxglove for the ABC Reading Challenge, so you should definitely check out those 2 episodes to hear my reviews on that. But I'm especially excited for this book because there has been a supporting character throughout the first 2 books who I have really enjoyed, and rumor has it she's the main character of this book. I've never been more excited for a female main character shift in a series before in my life. Another reason I'm excited is that, and I'm going to have to speak in code here because this is a spoiler-free read with me, but there is a sub-trope of the forced proximity trope. Are you following? I can't tell you exactly which subtrope it is because that does spoil how Foxglove ends, but this book has a forced proximity trope, and this particular one is what I have been dying to read and find a book that does this trope well, so I'm very pumped. Also, am I a little upset that my first 2 copies are paperback and this one is hardback? Absolutely. But what I am really excited about is that it's the Barnes & Noble's exclusive edition, and let me just show you something. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this might be one of the prettiest hardback books I've ever seen. It's said that the wisteria vine is a symbol of immortality. Ooh, this trilogy, like, grows on me often. Like, I keep finding myself thinking back on this trilogy, and I'm so pumped to read this one. Like, first of all, 5 stars just for the cover. But I have a very strong feeling that this is going to be a 5-star book, and I'm very pumped about it. Just look at that page spread. That is stunning. Okay. There is really no better way to kick this off than with
a subscribers to seconds challenge. So if you're not familiar with what that is, it looks a little bit like this. Reading a second for every subscriber I have on my booktube channel, day 21. I currently have 4,130 subscribers, which means today I'm going to be reading for 1 hour, 8 minutes, and 50 seconds. After I introduce the book, I just record myself reading for that entire time with 0 interruptions, and then I'll just edit it together at my computer, post it to my social medias, and I've already cranked through the first big chunk of the book. Page 124 to be exact, which actually gravity is working against me, which also gets me to part 2. I have so many thoughts about this book already, but all I can say is that I'm obsessed with it so far. If you can hear Soka's toy, I apologize. It is very loud, but I just don't have the heart to take it away from her right now. This book is phenomenal. I'm already predicting it's going to be a 5-star book unless something tragic happens. It's amazing. Like, slow burn, enemies to lovers, forced proximity, all of my favorite things really wrapped up into one book. Insane bickering that's like low-key flirting and then low-key touch her you die energy. My poor mother watching this is probably so concerned for my health. But honestly, so stinking fun. Like, everything you look for in a romantasy is in this book, and I'm obsessed, except for maybe dragons, but that's okay. It's not the kind of fantasy that you would typically think of. It's more like mythology type fantasy than like magic fantasy. Now, I have a very eventful day planned for tomorrow, and when I say very eventful, I mean half of the day is still a mystery to me. We're definitely going to play it by ear. I'm just going to read until I go to bed tonight, and then we will just see what tomorrow holds. Hey, baby girl. After a full day of travel, I'm ready to get back into it. It is the next day. A lot happened. Let's just start there. I wanted to be present because I ended up driving all the way to West Virginia to see family. I was able to fit in pockets of reading here and there all day yesterday and a little bit this morning, and I'm officially at the 75% mark of Wisteria, which is also the end of part 2. I must say that I'm so ready to crank out this book right now because I'm absolutely obsessed with it. Like, when I tell you, it is phenomenal. This is checking all of my romantasy boxes. I'm obsessed with everything. There hasn't been a single moment that I've been annoyed or upset, or if it has upset me, it's like upset me in a good way. Like, it's keeping me on the edge of my seat, and it has me wanting to crank through to the ending because I need to know how this book ends, but at the same time, I'm also horrified to finish it because I'm having such an amazing time, and I know this is the end of the trilogy. So I am predicting, unless it has the most anticlimactic ending of all time, this is definitely going to be a 5-star read for me. And I don't know what's happened in the last 24 hours, but I've gotten like a baby spike of subscribers, and we have so many new buddies who joined us in the last 24 hours. So I think the best way to finish out Wisteria is with a subscribers to seconds. Reading a second for every subscriber I have on my booktube channel, day 22. I currently have 4,205 subscribers, which means today we're reading for 1 hour, 10 minutes, and 5 seconds. After filming the entire thing, I edited and put it together and posted it to social medias. But here's the thing, when the time ran out for my subscribers to seconds challenge, I only had 20 pages left, so I just went ahead and finished reading the book while editing. And I have so many emotions. 5-star, without a doubt. Let's just add it to the chart right now. Absolutely in love with this book. It was phenomenal. The trope, amazing. The romance, amazing. The aesthetics. I was not expecting this to be a winter book, but it was very much a winter book. So I'm really glad that I picked it up like after October when I'm like getting in the Christmassy mood. So that was also phenomenal. And then, I wouldn't consider this a spoiler, but you know how sometimes there's a time jump at the end of a book and the last chapter or the epilogue is like so many years later? I have never read a so many years later chapter that was so emotional. Like, I saw that it was so many years later and I was like, no time jump, please don't time jump. And it ripped my heart out, but in all the best ways. I really did enjoy that epilogue, and I feel like that was like the best use of a time jump epilogue, in my opinion. And it just gave the book such a better, well-rounded ending. I loved everything about this book. I wouldn't change a thing, and that's crazy. The wild thing is I'm starting to second guess myself that this was a trilogy. Potentially, you could argue, were some setups for a fourth book. Hold on, I'm checking Goodreads. I'm wondering, have I just always assumed this was a trilogy? Because if it turns out there's going to be another book, I'm going to be so pleased. Oh, okay, that's good to know. There's going to be a novella. That could potentially, yeah, because it wasn't setting up a whole book, but there are definitely some loose ends that need to be tied up. So maybe that's where the novella is going to come into play. Interesting. That's perfect. I think I'm very happy with that. Sometimes novellas are like, okay, whatever. But some novellas are like perfectly placed, perfectly timed, and it does take place after book 3, according to the description. So I'm very excited now, but I have to wait 10 more months. All right, now let's just jump to book X. There were no honorable mentions. Honestly, I only chose this book because it was the only thing I could find. Nothing about this book seemed interesting to me, and I have a confession to make. I'm already halfway done with the book. The book is XOXO, and I was in a situation yesterday after driving on the road where I had to wait in the car for my husband for a couple hours, and it was already dark and I was waiting in the car, so I couldn't read Wisteria because I couldn't see the pages and I didn't want to use my flashlight in a parking lot. So what I did instead was I started reading XOXO on the iPad. Then later today, I went on a walk with Soka because she was a little stir crazy, and I figured it would be a great time to just like read while walking. I'm so sorry guys, I'm already halfway done with it, but that's great because then we can just jump right into talking about it. This book is rough. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm struggling. I will just preface it right now. I have not watched a K-drama, and I do not necessarily, I'll throw in that little asterisk there, I do not necessarily listen to K-pop. I do know some songs. I do listen to Blackpink a little bit, and I've heard a couple songs by, what are they called? BTS.
The smooth like butter.
So I technically do listen to K-pop, but I don't listen to K-pop. The entire premise of this book, and all I knew about it going in, was that it was a girl who basically finds herself in a K-pop plotline that involves a K-idol. And a K-idol is what they call K-pop stars in Korea. It's this girl who lives in Los Angeles, and she goes to basically think that one school from Victorious, that old Nickelodeon TV show, and she wants to professionally play cello, and so that's kind of like her specialty in her fine art school, if you will. And then her mother needs to go live and stay in Korea for a couple months, and she decides instead of staying behind, she's gonna go with her mother and spend half of a school year at a performing arts school in Seoul, Korea. And the crazy thing is that majority of the people who are studying at this school, or at least the way it's reading so far, are people who are trying to become K-pop idols, or they technically already are. So it's kind of cool. Like, I'm learning a lot about Korean culture, especially in like the performing arts space. I'm not gonna lie, I'm definitely very fascinated about like the politics, I guess you could say, into like what goes into making a K-pop group, because it's apparently like a very structured process. Here's the issue. This book reads like a 13-year-old wrote it, and I don't say that as a disrespect to 13-year-olds in the slightest. The author is writing about romance in a way that is insanely superficial, is writing friendships insanely superficial. Like, everything just screams that the author doesn't really seem to have experience with the types of relationships that she is writing about. It very much reads like a Hallmark movie that just happens to take place in Seoul, Korea. I will say though, this book has me interested in listening to K-pop more, as well as definitely very interested in Korean culture. So that's cool. I mean, there's something good to be said there. And I do think the plot is very fun. don't like how it's being written. It's painful to read because I am cringing a lot, and by a lot I mean like every single page. Thankfully, it is a short book, and because it is written at such a superficial level, I can read it very quickly. Like, there's not really much to comprehend. It's very straightforward, so I'm finding that my reading pace is insanely quick. So I'm hoping to just crank out this book tonight and get it over with, because we needed a book X, okay? I'm just happy to say that book Y I've been dying to read, and book Z seems like it's gonna be really, really good. So, oh, that's another thing. There's like a huge subplot where she's so obsessed. And this to me also screams 13-year-old. And I say that because I was like this at 13 too, okay? The red receipts. She's obsessed with red receipts. Like, every single time she sends a text message, which is a lot because she's like 16, she sends a lot of text messages, and she like takes a mental note of how long it takes people to open her text messages. And I'm just like, it's not that deep. I honestly turned off my read receipts years ago. Never thought about it since. Never worried about it. Never missed it. Let's finish this book and add it to the chart.
Such a pretty girl.
Soka felt like joining the party. Don't know how long this will last, but we'll see. That was just bad. I don't know what else to say. Like, I think it was a cute premise and it was a cute idea. And for that reason alone, I'm tempted to give it 2 stars, because here's the thing. I didn't enjoy it. I rolled my eyes so hard so many times that I got a headache at one point. But in all reality, like, I didn't hate it. I wasn't miserable. I'm kind of stuck between 1 and 2 stars. 1 just seems rude, because here's the thing. I can step out of myself and admit the fact that this wasn't a bad book. This book just was not for me. Like, nothing about this book is what I like in a book. So it was almost set up to fail from the beginning, which is why I think I'm leaning more towards 2 stars. I'm not going to pretend like I'm the end all be all of opinions, because I'm not. They're called opinions for a reason. Here's the thing that's also odd to me. There were 0 stakes, really, the whole time. It was a really horrible communication trope, that's for sure. But I think the part that really got to me is that even in how the book is advertised, it's like they both want to lead separate lives. Will she choose to be with the one she loves, or will she choose to do what she loves? I don't know. I never really bought that she loved what she said she did, and I never really bought that the relationship was like destined to be. And then on top of that, I didn't feel like it had to be mutually exclusive ever at any point. It just felt like a very dramatic way to make the situation bigger than it was. I get that the main character had reasons for thinking why she had to choose one or the other, but I was like, why are we thinking in black and white? Like, there's clearly a bajillion other options here. Also, if you love someone, you just make it work. And I think it's kind of hysterical how that just like was not really discussed until closer to the end as an option. So those are my thoughts. What are yours? Very insightful. All right, well, Soka and Mommy are very sleepy, so we're gonna head to bed, and I'll see you next week for the last episode in the ABC Reading Challenge. Today is insane because we are starting the last episode of the ABC Reading Challenge, starting strong with Book Y. I actually was not supposed to start filming this until days later, but we hit 4,300 subscribers like 2 minutes ago. In that moment, I decided that I was going to, 1, sit down and film this, but also film a subscribers to seconds to document that. And if you're a small creator, you get it, you understand. It's really, really cool to just watch those numbers go up and watch years of hard work pay off. And yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at right now.
I feel like I'm glowing. Actually, speaking of glowing, let's address my face. I did put some makeup on and I intentionally made the lighting less intense, but if you can't tell, my face is very pink and red right now. I am having a pretty bad allergic reaction on my face right now to a skincare product. Yeah, it's 100% my fault. I don't know why I didn't consider the fact that something that I'm allergic to that I cannot eat would be fine in a skincare product, and of course it was not, so I am suffering. By all means, what you actually want to know right now, which is, what were the honorable mentions of Y? It was between two books for book Y, and I'll be 100% honest with you. The reason why we went with the book that we did was because it was on sale. Also, the premise just sounded really fascinating to me. We almost read Yellowface. We did not read Yellowface. I really want to read that one, and if I don't read it this year, I'll definitely read it at the beginning of next year. But the book that was on sale that I've had my eye on is You May Now Kill the Bride by Kate Weston. This may surprise some people because I've never been the biggest fan of murder mysteries, but recently, and by recently I mean like the last two that I've read in the last couple months, have been 5-star reads. Dare I say I'm becoming a murder mystery girly. All I know about this book is that it's like the bride gets murdered and all the bridesmaids are suspects, and that's all I really know about it. So there's only one good way to kick off this video. Reading a second for every subscriber I have on my booktube channel, day 23. I currently have 4,300 subscribers, which means today we're reading for 1 hour, 11 minutes, and 40 seconds. Although my skin started to get worse and worse and hurt more and more, I did end up making it through the entire subscribers to seconds challenge, although I almost decided to take a break a couple times. But I did finish and I completed the whole challenge, and I am now on page 83, Chapter 12. I am thoroughly enjoying this. It's definitely the first adult murder mystery that I've enjoyed. I feel like usually I only enjoy murder mysteries that are YA because I feel like sometimes the drama of a YA just like makes the murder mystery element a lot less dark. But I'm thoroughly enjoying this for a couple reasons, but some of the ones that just like come off to the top of my head is it wasn't an over-the-top murder. Like, it was actually pretty realistic. That sounds so dark and scary. Sometimes you read these murder mysteries and it's like you expect me to believe that someone who's never murdered someone in their life thought of that outlandish and morbid of a murder, but like this is quite literally a crime of passion type murder. Like, it's just very clean cut. It is what it is. I'm just really sucked into this right now. I'm about, I'd say, a little under a third, probably about a quarter way through the book. And if it weren't for the fact that I need to go to bed like right now, I would really keep reading. This just feels so down to earth. Like, it's not outlandish, but it's also not underwhelming. Like, I'm very invested. Let's flash forward to a couple days later. Listen, last we chatted, I was having an allergic reaction to a skincare product. When I tell you the last 2 to 3 days were so bad, for those of you who may be thinking I'm dramatic, and it was just like bad acne for a couple days, my face was covered in blisters. I'm wearing more makeup now than I've worn since probably my wedding day 2 years ago, just to like cover some stuff, and it is healing now. But guys, it was so bad that my entire face was literally one giant scab, like covering my lips from like my forehead to like halfway down my neck was just a one giant scab, and it hurt. It burned. My face felt like 100 degrees, and I'm trying so hard not to touch it. Yeah, there's my little sob story. This is the last stinking episode of the ABC Reading Challenge, so I still want to finish this strong. So here's what we're gonna do. I did read a couple chapters here and there, and I did read a good chunk one morning while getting ready before I decided to take a break, just so that I didn't read like the entire book while not vlogging. So I'm currently on page 192 and chapter 30 of this book, and it's technically more like half, but that's because I do want to finish reading this book in a subscribers to seconds challenge, just because I had like a very big burst of subscribers between now and when I started reading book Y. So I do think it would be a fun like full circle moment to film another one and finish this book. That being said, let's talk about this book because I have so many thoughts. I'm like starting to understand more and more and more that the bride who died actually was like a horrible person. But here's the thing. Every single one of the bridesmaids and like all the bride's best friends are also horrible people. Something that keeps being referred to in the book is that they all had this secret, right? And it's kind of what kept them together. Very similar to Pretty Little Liars. There's like that one secret, you know, that keeps them glued together and why they can't really go to the police on certain things, right? Where was I going with that idea? Oh yeah, so now we're doing a lot of flashbacks and I feel like we're getting closer and closer to finding out like what that big secret is. Honestly, at this point, this better be the most insane and biggest secret ever or I'm gonna be so annoyed. Also, think Pretty Little Liars, but they're all in like their 30s and every single one of them is an Ally. And they're all horrible, they're all self-serving, they're all extremely selfish. Like the entitlement is a lot. Now, here's the reason why that isn't ruining the book experience for me. One, it's making it really hard to know who the murderer is because they're all so horrible that I think they're all perfectly capable of having murdered the bride. The second thing is that on the back of the book, it literally says that the author wanted you to hate every single one of these bridesmaids. Like, they're supposed to be angering. I believe the exact words are, the bridesmaids are people you will love to hate. And trust me, I am loving hating on them, but they're kind of stressing me out. That's my little rant. Very excited to see who's the killer. Reading 1 second for every subscriber I have on my booktube channel, day 24. I currently have 4,600 subscribers, which means today we're reading for 1 hour, 16 minutes, and 40 seconds. By the end of the subscribers to seconds video, I had about 20 or so pages left, so I did just take a minute once the cameras were off to just finish the book and then edit and post. And now I'm ready to talk about the book and then move on to book Z, but I am kind of in a rush. I'll tell you why in a second. But let's talk about You May Now Kill the Bride. Add it to the chart. We're gonna give it 4 stars. It was really good. I absolutely loved it. The only thing is that there were so many elements to this book that just weren't my favorite, which is why it's not a 5-star. But as for plot, I genuinely enjoyed it. I like how there was a big reveal, and then there was a reveal after the reveal, and a reveal after the reveal after the reveal. Like, in my opinion, the best kind of mystery books have, like, layers of reveals at the end. My only complaint is that if a book spends the entire book building up to a dramatic reveal, I don't love when they make it a little bit obvious right before it's revealed. You know what I mean? I love when it's just like, who did it? Who did it? Who did it? Boom, this person did it. But it felt more of like a who did it? Who did it? Maybe it's this person. Yeah, it was them. Like, I don't really like that as much. I want to gasp. I want to have to put the book down and process what I just read. I want to be floored. With each of the reveals, a couple pages before the reveal, I was like, oh, so it's this person. And then it was just confirmed a couple pages later when it was like revealed. So that was a little annoying, and I get, like, the author does that because some people do like to figure it out and they get a sense of gratification for figuring it out before it's revealed, but I'm just not that way. Like, I want to be totally shocked. So that's just like a personal preference thing, so 4 stars. Now, as for book Z, this is not like most of the books I've read, and I'm a little interested to see how this one turns out. It is 0 stars, do not recommend. This is a comedy about a man who goes on a vacation during the apocalypse. That's all I know. That could also be a very inaccurate description, but I have nothing to compare it to at all. So I'm very interested to see how this goes. It is, however, gonna start getting dark in an hour, sadly, because we had daylight savings and it's winter now, and now it gets dark at like an insanely early time. So I am going to start reading this book on my phone and take Soka on a walk until the sun starts to set, and then we can chat. I started reading the book on the walk, and honestly, I was hooked from the first sentence. So as soon as I got back inside the house, I immediately just sat on the couch and kept reading with my dog until I got hungry. And that is where everything went wrong. Let's just say I got in a fight with a kitchen knife, and the kitchen knife won. And it was very scary. I was low-key a baby about it, and I had to call my husband and cry about it, and it still hurts. I don't feel like reading anymore tonight. And I know that's a pathetic reason to take a break for the rest of the night, but
we're gonna do what Ruby needs to do for Ruby's mental health. Let's talk about why I was so glued to it that I was being careless with a knife so that I could get back to the book as soon as possible. I am at the 44% mark. I know that's probably like, whoa, you were sitting on the couch reading for a long time. I don't think I really was. I honestly think I'm just reading this book crazy fast, or maybe time just flew, because I also kind of was like, whoa, I hit 44%. Like, it seemed like a lot in a short amount of time. I'm just really sucked into this book. Let me backtrack on something I said earlier, because my assumptions about the book were slightly inaccurate. So it's not that there's an apocalypse and this dude goes on vacation. He's on vacation when the apocalypse starts. They're on this like special island, I think in the Bahamas or something, and he took his girlfriend there for like a fun trip. The sun just like disappears while they're there. And sure enough, it's chaos. So for whatever reason, when the sun exploded, all communication, all internet, all everything in the island just shut down. So they're basically isolated from the rest of the world. And the craziest part is that like everything's fine the first day, and then things get kind of crazy overnight. There are 3 different buildings in the same resort, and depending on like what experience you paid for, determines if you were in building A, B, and C. The rich people in building A have decided that they're gonna buy off the staff and basically keep living like they're in a resort, but they also basically become the government, and they force everyone in buildings B and building C to ration their food and work, and there's like a bajillion other things, but this is spoiler free, so I'm not gonna jump into that. But it's literally like Lord of the Flies, but modern day. And it's honestly kind of wild. Did you want to come say hello? Come here. Soka has joined the party. Can you sit at least? This is kind of awkward. Yeah, that's all I guess I can really say without spoilers. But it's about a guy who goes to this island with his girlfriend. And then on the second day of vacation, the apocalypse starts, and it's basically the Lord of the Flies. I think the funniest part in all of this, the person who kind of assumes the role of running the show and basically dictates how everything goes, and we'll just say right now, she's a dictator. She is a CEO of a pyramid scam company, and it is the funniest thing ever because they're tapping into all of the hysterical stereotypes of that. So I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Honestly, I wouldn't necessarily call this a comedy, although there are elements of comedy. I wouldn't call this a romance, but there's elements of a romance. This book has a little bit of everything. Honestly, it's a little stressful, so like as much as I'm enjoying it and I'm sucked into it and I think it's really engaging, the main reason I want to take a break from it is because it is really intense. I feel like oftentimes with these Lord of the Flies-esque books, or if you haven't read that, another good example is like the Hunger Games, right? There is an unjust system, and the people that you're rooting for are victims, and it doesn't seem like there's any possible way to like overthrow that system, and you just kind of feel hopeless. And so like reading that isn't exactly like all the fun, happy, cozy vibes. Yeah, I think I'm gonna take a break, but don't worry, we're gonna reconvene and continue reading in the morning. See, I just needed some puppy cuddles. After sleeping until a shameful hour, I am officially at like the 70-ish% mark of my book. I must say, I'm loving it, but it's so stressful. Like, it's a comedy, yes, and it's a very like silly book in so many ways, but at the same time, maybe it's just because every single time something happens, I have to ask myself, like, well, what would I would have done in that scenario? And I think that's why I'm really struggling to read this, because I was like, oh my word, I would probably be just as horrible. Not as the pyramid scheme lady, but like the main guy, Daniel is his name, and oftentimes I read what Daniel's doing and I want to judge him, but at the same time I'm like, I think I'd be the same way. Like, his girlfriend is quite literally so amazing, and her humanity is so intact when everyone else is going crazy, and she's still just like the most amazing human being. And he even has moments where he's like, what did I do to deserve someone this amazing? And as much as I'd like to wish that I'd be more like the girlfriend, I'm definitely more of a Daniel in this scenario. So Love that for me. I am kind of like just in a funk today, in all reality. I didn't even bother to like put makeup to cover up my skin. It is healing a lot better, so I figured like not putting makeup on it and just letting it heal would be the best thing in the long run. I think something about just staying in bed till noon really just did something to my brain, because I'm a morning person and I'm usually out and about and like at the latest by 8 a.m. So we're gonna try our best to catapult myself out of a funk, and the best way I know I can do that is taking my dog on a walk. Also, it's gonna be rainy for the next couple days, so I would like to get a nice big walk in before she's a shut-in like me for the next couple days. So I'm loving this book. It's close to a 5-star for me. Obviously, it's gonna depend on how this all ends. I don't even necessarily have a theory because I could see it going any way at this point. And obviously, I won't tell you what way it goes because that's a spoiler, but I'm just gonna read on a walk, and then whatever I don't finish on the walk, I'll just curl up on the couch and we can talk about it.
Every minute slipping by, even when I close my eyes, ruthless I know. You might even want
The ending of that book put me through an absolute whirlwind, and I had an amazing time. I really loved it. Let's add it to the chart. 0 stars, do not recommend. 5 stars, I 100% would recommend that you read this book. I don't know how else to describe it. If you enjoy Ryan Reynolds movies, like Free Guy, I think is a perfect example. Like, the Free Guy movie had the same exact vibes as this book. It just has like such a randomness, such good comedic timing, and it's so odd but so fascinating at the same time. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I flew through that book. Wow. I think this is one of those books that's really going to stick with me, and I'm going to recommend it to like anyone who's interested. That was a phenomenal book. It just hit me. That was book Z of the ABC Reading Challenge, a reading challenge we've been doing for months. I am excited now to shift more into like my winter and Christmassy books TBR. If you want to know what those books are and hear my reviews on them, you should definitely subscribe and stick around. And of course, if you're interested in watching any of the other episodes of the ABC Reading Challenge, you can find them in my Reading Challenge playlist.